Chapter 750. The battle between Tang Ao and Golden-Toothed Snake Lord started and ended very quickly. Golden-Toothed Snake Lord didn't even have the chance to beg for mercy before he was killed by Tang Ao. Their battle didn't last more than 30 breaths of time either. Seeing that Tang Ao had effortlessly killed Golden Fong Snake King, the Silver Fong Venomous Snake King did not even think of resisting. Instead, it immediately used its huge body to flee into the distance. After 3 months, the Silver Fong Viper had broken through to the 9th floor of Linghai Jing. Moreover, the Silver Fong Viper didn't look like a huge snake anymore. He had transformed into a human snake. This wasn't because the Silver Fong Viper was trash, but because its bloodline was stronger than Golden-Toothed Snake Lord's. As far as snake-type demonic beasts were concerned, the stronger their bloodline, the harder it was for them to transform. Bang! Before the Silver Fong Viper could escape far, Tang Ao caught up to him and sent him flying with a punch. Tang Ao had a few bones broken by this guy's merciless tail, so he naturally wouldn't go easy on him. Tang Ao, you can't kill me. I'm a pure-blood descendant of the 5 Elements Demon Domain's Silver Fong Snake race. It's fine if you kill Golden-Toothed Snake Lord, but if you kill me, you'll be hunted down by the Silver Fong Snake race. Tang Ao heard the Silver Fong Viper's words and rubbed his chin, then said casually, I wonder how the Silver Fong Snake race compares to Emperor Yulong? The Silver Fong Viper didn't know what Tang Ao meant, but he still said respectfully, Our Silver Fong Snake race is a subsidiary of Emperor Yulong. Although Emperor Yulong disappeared for tens of thousands of years, he didn't die. Tang Ao didn't let the Silver Fong Viper continue. In that case, I'll send you to see Emperor Yulong. The Silver Fong Viper was shocked when he heard Tang Ao's words. He wanted to escape, but his body seemed to be bound by something. The Silver Fong Viper raised its head and saw the longbow in Tang Ao's hands. Tang Ao pulled the longbow into a full moon shape, and a destructive aura swept out from the longbow. Tang Ao, as long as you let me go, I'm willing to form a spiritual beast contract with you and become your spiritual pet. In order to survive, the silver-toothed venomous snake couldn't care less. Bullshit. Do you think that just any trash can become my contractual spiritual beast? After Tang Ao said this, he released his hand, and a mysterious heaven arrow fell to the ground like a meteor, wrapped in the aura of death, and bombarded the Silver Fong Viper. Tang Ao, the Silver Fong Snake clan won't let you off. Before the Silver Fong Snake could finish his sentence, he exploded into a bloody mist under the profound heaven arrow. After the Silver Fong Venomous Snake exploded into a bloody mist, a soul shadow leapt out of the bloody mist and fled into the distance without hesitation. When Tang Ao saw this soul phantom, he shot out an arrow without hesitation. The Silver Fong Venomous Snake's soul shrieked, but it still disappeared. Spatial blood escape, I underestimated this fella. Tang Ao looked at the place where the Silver Fong Venomous Snake disappeared and shook his head. This time, Tang Ao had underestimated his enemy. After he crushed the Golden Fong Snake Lord, he didn't put the Silver Fong Venomous Snake in his eyes at all. However, what Tang Ao didn't expect was that the Silver Fong Venomous Snake didn't die after being shot by the primordial sacred heaven bow, and it even used the spatial blood escape to escape. Chapter 751. With a sweep of his spiritual power, Golden Fong Snake Lord's storage ring flew into Tang Ao's hand. After obtaining Golden Fong Snake Lord's storage ring, Tang Ao quickly left the place. After Tang Ao left, a huge greenish-gray rock not far from the battle between Tang Ao and Golden Fong Snake Lord suddenly moved. Then, it slowly transformed into a human form. Of course, this was not a rock monster, but a martial artist who had awakened a camouflage life spirit. This martial artist looked at Tang Ao, his eyes shining with a golden light. Primordial sacred sky bow, farmer god cauldron, mysterious clear mirror. The news of Tang Ao's various treasures had long spread among the martial artists in the underworld Emperor's secret realm. It was rumored that Tang Ao and a group of martial artists had discovered the inheritance of one of the 5 emperors, the Shennong Emperor. Within the inheritance of the Shennong Emperor, everyone had obtained many treasures. And Tang Ao was the biggest beneficiary. The 9th grade divine weapon, Primordial Sacred Sky Bow, was in Tang Ao's hands. The 8th grade divine weapon, Mysterious Clear Mirror, was in Tang Ao's hands, and the legendary Farmer God Cauldron was also in Tang Ao's hands. Some even said that Shennong Emperor's famous artifact, Farmer God Grass, was obtained by Tang Ao. If Tang Ao was a life and death realm 9th level martial artist, then no one would dare to say a word when Tang Ao obtained these treasures. But the news they received was true. Tang Ao was only a martial artist from the 9th floor of Linghai Jing. The 9th floor of Linghai Jing would be considered a martial artist in the Black-Yellow continent. But in the underworld Emperor's secret realm, where geniuses gathered and countless opportunities gathered, the 9th floor of Linghai Jing was really ordinary. At this moment there were no less than 100 life and death martial artists in the underworld Emperor's secret realm. There were even more Sea of Soul realm martial artists. Therefore, Tang Ao's cultivation was really nothing. There were many people who coveted Tang Ao's treasures, but only a few could find Tang Ao. Qianhu was also one of the many martial artists who were looking for Tang Ao. However, Qianhu's cultivation level was lower than Tang Ao's. He was only on the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. However, Qianhu was adept at camouflage, which was why he dared to search the underworld Emperor mountain range, which was filled with countless beasts. When Qianhu saw Tang Ao leaving, he hesitated for a moment. In the end, he decided not to follow Tang Ao. Qianhu had already witnessed Tang Ao's ruthlessness. Qianhu felt that even if there were 2 of him, he wouldn't be a match for Tang Ao. Although he coveted Tang Ao's treasures, he was helpless against Tang Ao's strength. It was impossible for him to take all of Tang Ao's treasures for himself. After thinking for a moment, Qianhu's figure slowly disappeared. He was prepared to sell Tang Ao's range to people who needed it. If Tang Ao had used his sky polar eyes to scan the area, he would definitely have discovered Qianhu hiding in the side. Unfortunately, Tang Ao didn't use his sky polar eyes. Therefore, Tang Ao left behind such a huge problem. Now, Tang Ao arrived at a dilapidated cave. He didn't know when this cave was dug by a martial artist, but it looked quite old. After Tang Ao walked into the cave, he saw that there was an extinguished bonfire in the cave. It seemed like someone had stayed in this cave not long ago. Apart from the fire, there was also a messy pile of straw. Tang Ao didn't stand on ceremony. He directly sat on the straw. Then, Tang Ao took out Golden Fong's Snake Lord's ring. Golden Fong's Snake Lord was already dead, and Tang Ao's soul power was extremely strong. Therefore, it didn't take much effort for Tang Ao to break the restriction on Golden Fong's Snake Lord's ring. Golden Fong's Snake Lord's storage ring wasn't filled with treasures like Tang Ao had imagined. Chapter 752. Then, Tang Ao recalled that the Silver Fong Venomous Snake Lord was even poorer than the Golden Fong Snake Lord. The Golden Fong Snake Lord still had a storage ring, but the Silver Fong Venomous Snake Lord did not even have a storage ring. The Silver Fong Snake Lord had said that he was a pure-blood descendant of the Silver Fong Snake Lord. It sounded like he had a powerful background. Tang Ao cast these thoughts aside and took out the jade strip from the Golden Fong Snake Lord's storage ring. The jade strip was very dilapidated, and the Golden Fong Snake Lord had placed dozens of restrictions on it. Tang Ao was speechless. The Golden Fong Snake Lord had placed so many restrictions on the jade strip. Every time he checked the jade strip, he would probably need to spend 2 to 4 hours to remove the restrictions. After looking at the jade strip, he would need to spend another 2 to 4 hours to seal the restrictions. He really did not understand what the Golden Fong Snake Lord was thinking. Tang Ao wasn't as meticulous as the golden-toothed snake monarch. His incomparably powerful soul power broke the restriction on the jade slip without any hesitation. After Tang Ao broke all the restrictions on the jade strip, Tang Ao saw the contents of the jade strip. Minor divine art? Refining the heart-blood arrow? Tang Ao's body trembled. The martial techniques in the Xianwang continent were divided into 4 grades: Heaven, Earth, Profound, and Yellow. Tang Ao had never seen a heaven-ranked martial technique before. The strongest martial technique that Tang Ao had grasped in his previous life was a superior grade Earth-ranked martial technique. However, this martial technique was a set with the cultivation technique from his previous life. In this life, Tang Ao did not cultivate the cultivation technique from his previous life. Therefore, Tang Ao could not execute this martial technique. Although Tang Ao did not possess a heaven-ranked martial technique, he had seen the might of a heaven-ranked martial technique. At the same time, Tang Ao knew that there were divine arts above heaven-ranked martial technique. Divine arts were divided into minor divine arts and major divine art. Every divine art was an existence that could destroy the world. At this moment, there was a minor divine art in front of Tang Ao. After seeing this minor divine technique, Tang Ao finally understood why Golden-Toothed Snake Lord's essence blood poison arrow was so powerful. This was because Golden-Toothed Snake Sovereign's blood essence poison arrow was a simplified version of the refined heart blood arrow. However, using the refined blood arrow consumed a martial artist's life force. Thus, after simplifying it, Golden Fong Snake Monarch modified it. He fused his fatal venom into the blood arrow, creating a nondescript blood poison arrow. Crack! The jade slip in Tang Ao's hand actually cracked a bit. It seemed as if it would quickly shatter and disappear. Tang Ao was greatly alarmed, and he hurriedly poured all of his soul power into the jade slip, and frantically copied the contents of the jade slip. After the first crisp sound, the speed at which the jade slip shattered became faster and faster. Tang Ao also stimulated his soul power to the extreme. It wasn't easy for him to obtain a lesser divine art. If it was destroyed in his hands because of this, Tang Ao would never forgive himself. As Tang Ao crazily copied the contents of the jade slip with his soul power, Tang Ao continuously memorized the contents of the jade slip, and the speed at which the jade slip shattered became faster and faster. Finally, when Tang Ao's soul power was completely exhausted, the jade slip completely shattered into a pile of scraps. Tang Ao felt a stabbing pain in his sea of consciousness, and he was somewhat speechless. His soul power was already strong to this extent, but he could only barely finish recording the contents of the jade slip. If it was someone else who obtained this jade slip, they would have already died. If someone else had obtained this jade slip, they probably wouldn't even be able to memorize 1/10 of the contents before the jade slip completely shattered. Although there were not many things in Golden-Toothed Snake Lord's ring, Tang Ao was still very satisfied with this minor divine art. Chapter 753. After Tang Ao sorted out the contents of the refining heart blood arrow, he didn't immediately start cultivating it. Instead, he continued to look at the other things in Golden-Tooth Snake Lord's ring. This time, Tang Ao took out the ancient map from Golden-Tooth Snake Lord's ring. After seeing the things on the map, Tang Ao was delighted. The thing on the map was none other than the wind thunder dark cloud that Tang Ao was painstakingly searching for. Tang Ao had previously thought of ways to find the wind thunder dark cloud, but he couldn't find any clues. Now, Tang Ao had almost forgotten about the wind thunder dark cloud. In the end, the map of the wind thunder dark cloud appeared in front of Tang Ao. However, Tang Ao soon discovered that something was wrong. This was because behind the map, there was a line of small words, 203rd map. Seeing this line of words, Tang Ao's face turned black. Just now, Tang Ao felt that he had picked up a treasure. He even knew the location of the wind, thunder, dark cloud. But now, Tang Ao knew that this ancient map was not the only one. This map in Tang Ao's hands was already more than 200 copies. Tang Ao didn't know how many there were, but Tang Ao knew that there were at least 200 people who could obtain such a map. Thinking about how Golden Tooth Snake Lord couldn't obtain the wind, thunder, dark cloud, Tang Ao felt that he had a high chance of obtaining the wind, thunder, dark cloud. Although Golden Tooth Snake Lord couldn't last more than a few rounds, he was still a life and death realm expert. Even a life and death realm expert like Golden Tooth Snake Lord couldn't obtain the wind, thunder, dark cloud. It could be seen that this treasure was not easy to obtain. After taking the map, Tang Ao looked at the small pile of spirit stones in Golden Tooth Snake Lord's storage ring. There were only a dozen or so spirit stones. Compared to Emperor Yulong's mountain of spirit stones, Golden Tooth Snake Lord was really poor. Tang Ao suddenly exclaimed. This was because Tang Ao discovered that these spirit stones were not low-grade spirit stones, mid-grade spirit stones, or high-grade spirit stones, but top-grade spirit stones. Even Tang Ao hadn't seen many top-grade spirit stones in his previous life. Even Emperor Yulong's treasury didn't have a single one. Although there weren't many things in Golden Tooth Snake Lord's storage ring, they were all top-grade. First, it was the jade strip of refining heart blood arrow, then it was the map of wind, thunder, nether cloud. Although this map was a bit melodramatic, Tang Ao would not deny its value. Without this map, Tang Ao didn't know if he would be able to find the location of the wind, thunder, dark clouds when he left the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm. In addition to the jade strip and the map of the wind, thunder, dark cloud, Tang Ao also found 11 top-quality spirit stones in the storage ring of Golden Fang Snake Monarch. Now, Tang Ao didn't feel that Golden Tooth Snake Lord was poor at all. In fact, Tang Ao felt that he was the poor one compared to Golden Tooth Snake Lord. Without hesitation, Tang Ao took out the top-grade spirit stone and put it in a jade box. Then, he put the jade box into the chaotic hexlight mirror. Besides these three things, everything else in Golden Tooth Snake Lord's storage ring was in a jade box. With the harvest just now, Tang Ao was looking forward to the contents of the jade box. There were a total of 10 jade boxes. Tang Ao casually took one out and opened it. Inside the jade box was a rank 7 spirit fruit, pure yang fruit. Chapter 754. After putting away the Golden Tooth Snake Lord's items with satisfaction, Tang Ao prepared to search for the wind, thunder, dark cloud. Legend had it that the wind, thunder, dark cloud was not only a flying treasure with unparalleled speed, but it also hid a huge secret. However, Tang Ao did not even see the wind, thunder, dark cloud in his previous life, so Tang Ao naturally did not know the secret hidden in the wind, thunder, dark cloud. Although Tang Ao did not know what kind of secret was hidden in the wind, thunder, dark cloud, Tang Ao had heard many legends about it. One of the most reliable theories was that the wind, thunder, dark cloud hid a top-notch escape technique in the world. After this escape technique was mastered, it could pass through the 6 paths of yin and yang. It was an extremely powerful divine technique. After carefully looking at the map where the wind, thunder, dark cloud was, Tang Ao left this cave. At a place extremely far away from the cave where Tang Ao was, Bai Zhanyuan stopped in a forest. Bai Zhanyuan, I want to make a deal with you. A voice came out from the forest, and Bai Zhanyuan was stopped by this voice. However, Bai Zhanyuan's soul power scanned the forest several times, and he did not find anyone else in the forest. Behind Bai Zhanyuan, a few martial artists realized that there were no other martial artists hidden in the forest, and they all felt a little fearful. There were too many strange things in the Emperor Ming mystic realm, and these unknown strange things were usually accompanied by danger. Therefore, a few martial artists subconsciously moved closer to where Bai Zhanyuan was. Bai Zhanyuan was now a life and death level 4 martial artist. In the Emperor Ming mystic realm, he did not dare to say that he was invincible, but he was at least one of the top experts. Seeing his subordinates like this, Bai Zhanyuan snorted coldly. These people were not disciples of the Bai family, and many of them were subordinates of the Bai family. If the disciples of the Bai family were so useless, Bai Zhanyuan would definitely send them on their way personally. Speak, what kind of deal do you want to make with me? The ethereal voice came out from the forest again. I know where Tang Ao is, and I am sure that Tang Ao only has the cultivation of the 9th floor of Linghai Jing. The voice in the forest did not continue. Bai Zhanyuan frowned. If you have anything to say, just say it. I don't have time to waste on you here. Good, as expected of the young master of the Bai family. I heard that you broke an ancient restriction through the blood sacrifice array and found tens of thousands of top-grade spirit stones under it. I'll tell you Tang Ao's approximate location in exchange for 1,000 top-grade spirit stones. When Bai Zhanyuan heard this, his expression turned cold. He had been extremely secretive about the blood sacrifice formation, but to think that others would still find out about it. However, Bai Zhanyuan did not say much. He merely said in a cold voice, "Seeing that you are so well informed, let me ask you a question. As long as it doesn't involve Tang Ao, you can ask anything you want," the voice in the forest said straightforwardly. "Ha ha ha, what I want to ask is indeed about Tang Ao, but this question has nothing to do with Tang Ao's position." As Bai Zhanyuan said this, he tossed out a storage ring. However, before the storage ring landed on the ground, a light breeze swept past, and the storage ring disappeared. Bai Zhanyuan's gaze turned cold. Just now, he wanted to confirm the other party's location while he was taking the storage ring, but now that the other party had taken his storage ring away, Bai Zhanyuan still had no idea where the person in the forest was hiding. Tang Ao naturally did not know that his position had been exposed, nor did he know that almost 2/3 of the martial artists in the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm were frantically searching for his whereabouts. At this moment, Tang Ao was already on his way to find the Wind Thunder Dark Cloud. This Wind Thunder Dark Cloud was not in the Netherworld Emperor Mountain Range, but on the Dark Sea outside the Netherworld Emperor Mountain Range. Chapter 755. Tang Ao didn't know if there was a dark ocean in this world, but Tang Ao knew that this dark purple ocean was definitely not the ordinary dark ocean. As for what this ocean was called, no one knew. However, because this ocean was in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, the people who came here to train called it the Dark Ocean. Senior brother, are you going to the Dark Ocean to look for opportunities? Come on my spirit boat. It's cheap and you can use it once or for a month. While Tang Ao was still observing the Dark Ocean, a Sea of Souls Realm Level 3 warrior said enthusiastically to Tang Ao. Hearing his words, Tang Ao also curiously looked at the so-called spirit boat that this martial artist was talking about. Tang Ao saw that this so-called spirit boat was actually just a broken wooden board. It was just that there were some strange patterns on it, making it look a bit weird. However, this board was extremely huge. There were already 7 warriors standing on it, but it didn't seem to be crowded at all. Seeing Tang Ao's confused expression, the Sea of Souls Realm Level 3 warrior said, "Senior brother, this should be your first time coming to the Dark Ocean, right?" Tang Ao nodded. It was indeed his first time here. Originally, Tang Ao thought that the warriors in the snowfield already had a lot of opportunities. Because of the Spirit Tower, many of them had even broken through to the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm and above. However, when Tang Ao arrived here, he realized that there were too many opportunities in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. Even the weakest of the warriors near the Dark Ocean was at the Sea of Souls realm. Moreover, warriors above the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm were not rare here. Tang Ao even saw 3 or 4 life and death realm warriors. No wonder senior brother is confused. This Dark Ocean can be said to be the #1 treasure ground in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm. The first batch of senior brothers who came here and survived were basically all life and death realm warriors in the past half a year. Tang Ao was slightly surprised. The Shenong historical remains had such a heaven-defying treasure like the spiritual pagoda, but it was only because of Murong Shao, a powerhouse in the life and death realm. However, how terrifying was the Netherworld Sea? The first batch of warriors that came to the Netherworld Sea had all become life and death realm warriors. Seeing Tang Ao's expression change, the martial artist also smiled. In this Netherworld Sea, there is a strange item called the Netherstone. After absorbing and refining the Netherstone, it can increase a martial artist's spiritual and soul power, and at the same time, strengthen a martial artist's physical body. Most importantly, it could increase the strength of a martial artist's soul, not the strength of their soul power. The soul is the medium through which a martial artist enters the boundless world and communicates with the life soul. In the entire black-yellow continent, the means to increase the strength of the soul is rare. If Tang Ao was just slightly surprised before, then Tang Ao was a little shocked now. Even Tang Ao couldn't help but be shocked by a treasure that could increase the strength of one's soul condensation. Tang Ao knew of a few treasures that could strengthen the condensation of the soul, but those were all legendary items. And this Netherstone was right in front of him in the Netherworld Sea. "Junior brother, may I know how to obtain the Netherstone?" As Tang Ao asked the question, he also handed over a jade bottle. This gray-robed martial artist had explained so much to Tang Ao, and Tang Ao had even asked him questions. Giving him a little reward was only right. Moreover, Tang Ao was now a peak 6th grade alchemist. As long as he had spiritual plants, Tang Ao could have as many pellets as he wanted. Chapter 756. Sure enough, after this warrior received the benefits from Tang Ao, he immediately became more enthusiastic. "Senior brother, my name is Chi Tian." The Netherworld Sea in front of him may not seem big, but it is actually boundless. There are stones like this in the Netherworld Sea, and they are called Netherworld stones. As Chi Tian spoke, he took out a light purple stone the size of a baby's fist. When Tang Ao took the light purple stone from Chi Tian's hand, his body felt comfortable. Even though Tang Ao was not cultivating, Tang Ao felt that as long as he held this stone, his cultivation would rise. Good stuff. After Tang Ao felt it for a while, he returned the Netherworld stone to Chi Tian. Tang Ao could feel that even if he could not refine it, this Netherworld stone was still being consumed by him. Tang Ao was not the kind of person who liked to take advantage of others. Therefore, after knowing that the Netherworld stone was extraordinary, Tang Ao immediately returned the Netherworld stone to Chi Tian. When Chi Tian saw Tang Ao like this, he could not help but look at Tang Ao a few more times. Chi Tian had already met many warriors who came into contact with the Netherworld stone for the first time. Most of them, after knowing that the Netherworld stone was extraordinary, even if they knew that the Netherworld stone was being consumed, they would still unconsciously feel it. Tang Ao was the first warrior who felt the Netherworld stone being consumed and immediately returned it to him. "This Netherworld stone in my hand is only a low-grade Netherworld stone. In the Netherworld Sea, there are a total of 4 grades of Netherworld stones. The light purple ones are low grade, the purple ones are middle grade, the dark purple ones are high grade, and the purple-black ones are top grade." Chi Tian clearly knew what Tang Ao wanted to know the most, so he did not waste any time and introduced it to Tang Ao. While introducing it, Chi Tian also took out a purple Netherworld stone. This purple Netherworld stone was the middle-grade Netherworld stone that Chi Tian had just mentioned. However, this time, Tang Ao did not take the middle-grade Netherworld stone to feel it. Since he knew that this Netherworld stone was extraordinary, Tang Ao only needed to know how to find it. "Junior brother Chi, how do I find the Nether stone?" The underworld stones are distributed throughout the vast Netherworld Sea. The closer to the shore, the lower the grade of the underworld stone. The deeper into the netherworld sea, the higher the grade of the underworld stone. It was just that the netherworld sea was a bit special. Besides spirit boats, no martial artist could fly on the netherworld sea for a long time. Some weaker martial artists would only be able to fly for 3 to 5 breaths of time before falling into the netherworld sea. Moreover, this netherworld ocean is also extremely dangerous. Even life and death experts cannot stay in the netherworld ocean for more than 10 breaths of time. Otherwise, their vitality will dissipate and they will decay. After listening to Chi Tian's explanation, Tang Ao finally understood why no warrior crossed the netherworld sea. It turned out that it was impossible to fly above the netherworld sea. Moreover, the waters of the netherworld sea were also abnormally dangerous. Soon, Tang Ao realized that something was wrong. Even life and death realm martial artists could not fly on the netherworld sea. How could this seemingly broken wooden plank float on the netherworld sea? Junior brother Chi, could this spirit boat be some kind of treasure? Why is it that life and death experts cannot fly on the netherworld sea, but this spirit boat can cross the spiritual sea? In the past, a senior brother from my sect was also one of the first martial artists to reach the netherworld sea. After they reached the netherworld sea, they saw a treasure light shooting into the sky from the depths of the netherworld sea. They wanted to cross the netherworld sea to search for treasures. However, after a few people died in the netherworld sea, they also discovered that they could not fly in the netherworld sea. Just at this moment they saw a giant ship anchored on the netherworld sea. After discovering that this ship could float on the netherworld sea, everyone tried to snatch it. This so-called spirit boat is just the plank of that giant ship. Chapter 757. Chi Tian, are you going or not? There's only one seat left. If worst comes to worst, I'll buy it. Hurry up and row the boat. While Chi Tian and Tang Ao were still talking, a black-faced man on Chi Tian's spirit boat shouted at Chi Tian on the shore. He was obviously a little impatient. Hearing the dark-faced man's words, Chi Tian hurriedly smiled apologetically. Senior brother Nyo, you're treating me like an outsider. Waiting for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn is an unwritten rule in the netherworld sea. Now that the time is up, I naturally have to leave. Chi Tian said to Tang Ao, senior brother, there's an empty seat on the spirit boat. Do you want to try your luck with us? Tang Ao thought for a moment and declined Chi Tian's good intentions. Junior brother Chi Tian, I won't go. I'm going to walk around the netherworld sea. If I want to go out to sea, I'll come find you at any time. How much is the ticket? Chi Tian said so much to Tang Ao because he wanted Tang Ao to ride his spirit boat when he went out to sea in the future. Tang Ao could naturally see this. Hearing Tang Ao's words, Chi Tian was happy. A single trip is 1 low-grade underworld stone. A month is 20 low-grade underworld stones or 2 mid-grade underworld stones. Tang Ao was shocked. In Tang Ao's opinion, this underworld stone was extremely difficult to find. Such a precious thing in front of tens of thousands of martial artists wouldn't be enough. However, Chi Tian could earn 7 to 8 underworld stones just by ferrying once. It seemed that ferrying a spirit boat was very profitable. Chi Tian seemed to know that Tang Ao had misunderstood. Before leaving, he said to Tang Ao, although I can earn 7 to 8 underworld stones every time I go out to sea, most of them are used to maintain the spirit boat. I can only earn 1 or 2 underworld stones every time I go out to sea. After Chi Tian said that, he cupped his fists to Tang Ao and stepped onto the spirit boat. Then, Chi Tian made several seals on the spirit boat. The spirit boat buzzed and moved forward. To be honest, Tang Ao still wanted to follow Chi Tian and the others to explore the sea. However, the netherworld sea was too strange. Before he could understand the netherworld sea, Tang Ao decided not to rashly go out to sea. With his current strength, he could only barely protect himself among the martial artists who came here to train. If he were to face off against the old monsters in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm, his meager strength would be insufficient. Back in the Emperor Yulong's ruins, if the Emperor Yulong hadn't tried to suppress him with his aura, Tang Ao might not have been able to walk out of the Emperor Yulong's ruins. Tang Ao suspected that the Netherworld Sea was where the Netherworld Darch had perished. Ming Di was the strongest of the 5 emperors. If he had left behind any tricks, Tang Ao would be in deep trouble if he didn't know what to do. After Qi Tian and the others left, Tang Ao wandered around the Netherworld Sea aimlessly. Even though the Netherworld Sea had been searched over and over again, there were still many weak martial artists who tried their luck there. They kept sweeping the Netherworld Sea with their soul power, trying to find the Netherstone in the Netherworld Sea. However, because the edge of the Netherworld Sea had been searched thoroughly, even though there were still Netherworld stones by the Netherworld Sea, there were very few of them. Tang Ao also tried to use his soul power to sweep the Netherworld Sea. As soon as his soul power entered the Netherworld Sea, Tang Ao felt as though his soul power was blocked by something. Following that, his soul power slowed down. Chapter 758. Tang Ao searched for a long time at the edge of the Netherworld Sea, but he still didn't find a single Netherstone. At this moment, there were at least 800 to 1,000 martial artists searching for the Netherworld Stone. With these martial artists searching day and night, it was really difficult to find the Netherworld Stone at the edge of the Netherworld Sea. When Tang Ao scanned the area with his soul power again, a purple Netherworld Stone immediately appeared in Tang Ao's perception. However, this Netherworld Stone was obviously discovered by someone else first. A skinny girl wearing green clothes and a black-clothed martial artist with a gloomy expression both flew towards the location of this Netherworld Stone. Tang Ao could see that this Netherworld Stone was first discovered by the girl in green clothes, and the black-clothed martial artist only discovered it after he saw where the girl in green clothes attacked. Even so, the black-clothed martial artist didn't think that this Netherworld Stone belonged to the girl in green clothes. He, Ouyang Chen, had been at the edge of the Netherworld Sea for a long time. The Netherworld Stone that he wanted, not to mention that the other party hadn't obtained it yet, even if the other party obtained it, she could only obediently hand it over. With a plop sound, the green-clothed girl jumped into the Netherworld Sea and grabbed the purple Netherworld Stone. However, without waiting for the green-clothed girl to put the Underworld Stone into the storage ring, Ouyang Chen snatched the profound stone from the green-clothed girl's hand, and then sent the green-clothed girl flying with a palm strike. She was about to fall into the Underworld Sea. Falling into the Netherworld Sea from such a far place, the girl in green clothes definitely wouldn't be able to escape within 10 breaths. Seeing that she was continuously flying and unable to control her body, the girl in green clothes forgot the pain of her broken ribs, and her pretty face was filled with despair. With her cultivation, if she fell into the Netherworld Sea in this kind of situation, there would be no chance of survival. The strong desire to live made the girl in green clothes want to stabilize her body, but she was only at the first level of the Spirit Sea realm, while Ouyang Chen was on the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. The difference between the two was really too big. Swoosh, a golden light flashed, and Luo Tianyi didn't feel the bone-chilling Netherworld Sea water. Instead, she felt a warm current nourishing her body. Her broken ribs were also recovering, and the pain in her body was gradually decreasing. Luo Tianyi opened her eyes nervously and saw Tang Ao carrying her back to the shore. After flying back to the shore, Luo Tianyi panicked. She hurriedly said to Tang Ao, "This senior brother, we have to run quickly. That person is Ouyang Chen of the Ouyang aristocrat clan." As Luo Tianyi spoke, she wanted to pull Tang Ao away. But before Luo Tianyi could move, Ouyang Chen stood in front of her and Tang Ao. "Good lad, you've got guts. You even dare to meddle in my, Ouyang Chen's, business." When Tang Ao suddenly saved Luo Tianyi, who was about to fall into the Netherworld Sea, Ouyang Chen was shocked by Tang Ao. But now that Ouyang Chun took a closer look, he realized that Tang Ao's strength was only at the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. The 5th floor of Linghai Jing was considered not bad at the edge of the Netherworld Sea. But compared to Ouyang Chun, it was a far cry. Hand over this junior sister's netherstone and scram. Tang Ao couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with scum like Ouyang Chun. The reason why Tang Ao saved Luo Tianyi was because Luo Tianyi's appearance was 70% to 80% similar to Enruosu, who had saved him in his previous life. Especially those eyes, which seemed to be able to speak, were extremely similar to Enruosu. Therefore, Tang Ao felt that Luo Tianyi was most likely Enruosu's descendant. Chapter 759. Ha ha ha, I have been in the Netherworld Sea for 3 months, but I have never seen such an arrogant person. Ouyang Chun immediately burst into laughter when he heard Yi Xian's words. People kept coming over. Although everyone was busy looking for the underworld stone, they wouldn't miss a good show. Senior Ouyang, I don't want that mid-grade underworld stone anymore. I still have 3 low-grade dark stones on me. I'll give them to you too. Can you let us go? Although Luo Tianyi was shocked by Tang Ao's words, Luo Tianyi didn't think that Tang Ao from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing would be a match for Ouyang Chun from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. Ouyang Chun wasn't an ordinary 7th floor of Linghai Jing. Not long ago, a warrior from the 9th floor of Linghai Jing had died in the hands of Ouyang Chun. Hence, Ouyang Chun's fearsome name was still very intimidating. If you had been so tactful just now, I could have considered giving you a way out. Now of course I can give you a way out too. As Ouyang Chun spoke, he glanced unceremoniously at Luo Tianyi's full breasts. There was an indescribable look in his eyes. When the onlookers saw that Tang Ao and Luo Tianyi had been stopped by Ouyang Chun, they all looked at Tang Ao and Luo Tianyi with sympathy. Unlike other warriors, Ouyang Chun had always been active around the Netherworld Sea. As long as you didn't fight with Ouyang Chun over the underworld stone that he had his eyes on, everything would be fine. As for whether you were the one who discovered the underworld stone first, that wasn't important. However, if someone insisted on snatching it from Ouyang Chun, then the person who snatched it would be dead. I don't want to repeat what I said before. While everyone was looking at Tang Ao with sympathy, Tang Ao actually said such a thing. Tang Ao had just asked Ouyang Chun to hand over the dark stone and scram. Now, the meaning of Tang Ao's words was self-evident. The crowd did not understand why Tang Ao, a martial artist from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, had such courage. However, none of them were in a good mood. They all looked at Tang Ao curiously. Bastard, do you think that the 5th floor of Linghai Jing is invincible? Since you are in a hurry to die, I will fulfill your wish. As for this little girl, when I am done, I will throw her into the Netherworld Sea to accompany you. As Ouyang Chun spoke, a huge Yuan Chi palm print slapped toward Tang Ao. Facing Ouyang Chun's Yuan Chi palm print, Luo Tianyi, who was beside Tang Ao, felt a little suffocated. She couldn't even take out her spirit weapon to fight alongside Tang Ao. Luo Tianyi had just broken through to the 1st level of the Sea of Souls realm. Compared to Ouyang Chun on the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, she was too weak. However, this suffocating feeling did not last for long on Luo Tianyi's body. As Tang Ao's spirit power shook, the suffocating feeling on Luo Tianyi's body instantly disappeared. Then, the crowd saw Tang Ao kick out. Ouyang Chun's powerful Yuan Chi palm print was easily shattered by Tang Ao's kick. At the same time, Tang Ao stepped on Ouyang Chun's face. In just one round, Tang Ao had ended the battle. Because the battle ended too quickly, many people did not even have time to react. Ouyang Chun's heart sank. He knew that he had kicked an iron plate this time. This brat was not from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. He was at least a 2nd-level life and death realm warrior. His big brother, Ouyang Zhen, was a 1st-level life and death realm warrior, but even his big brother could not defeat him in one move. However, although Ouyang Chen was being stepped on by Tang Ao, Ouyang Chen was not worried at all. Chapter 760. The surrounding people naturally heard Ouyang Chen's words as well. At the same time, they knew that Ouyang Chen was right. The Ouyang family was one of the 6 great families of the ancient desolate era, and they were extremely powerful. Tang Ao was an unfamiliar face, and he did not come from any great power. Therefore, even though Tang Ao had Ouyang Chen under control, no one thought that Tang Ao would dare to do anything to Ouyang Chen. "These are your last words? They are rather short." As Tang Ao finished speaking, the spirit energy on his feet suddenly shook, and Ouyang Chen's head exploded like a watermelon. Seeing this scene, everyone knew that Tang Ao was finished. Although this was the underworld emperor's secret realm, Ouyang Chen was not the only one in the Ouyang family. Besides Ouyang Chen, Ouyang Chen's big brother, Ouyang Zhen, was also here, and he was also a life and death realm warrior. Including Ouyang Zhen, the Ouyang family had a total of 3 life and death realm warriors. Although Ouyang Chen had said that Tang Ao was a life and death realm warrior, the onlookers could see clearly. Ouyang Chen was scared by Tang Ao, so he mistakenly thought that Tang Ao was a life and death realm warrior. However, the surrounding people could clearly feel that although Tang Ao was powerful, the spirit energy fluctuation on Tang Ao's body was undoubtedly that of a Sea of Souls realm warrior. A Sea of Souls realm warrior being able to crush Ouyang Chen was already quite good. If Tang Ao could advance to the life and death realm, he might even have the ability to compete with the other 3 life and death realm warriors of the Ouyang family. However, no matter how powerful a Sea of Souls realm warrior was, it was still not enough in front of a life and death realm warrior. Although it was rumored that Ouyang Chen had killed a life and death realm martial artist, the life and death realm martial artist that Ouyang Chen had killed had already been seriously injured. Coupled with Ouyang Chen's sneak attack, the life and death realm martial artist had died at Ouyang Chen's hands. After killing Ouyang Chen, Tang Ao did not hesitate to take Ouyang Chen's storage ring. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, he took Luo Tianyi and left. After Tang Ao and Luo Tianyi had left, Luo Tianyi was a bit nervous and said to Tang Ao, "Senior brother, thank you for saving me, but you should run now. Although you are not a match for the Ouyang family, with your cultivation, if you run now, you should be able to escape from the Ouyang family." Tang Ao did not talk about this topic with Luo Tianyi. Instead, he looked into Luo Tianyi's eyes and asked, "My name is Tang Ao, what is your name?" Luo Tianyi was a bit scared by Tang Ao's gaze. Could it be that Tang Ao wanted to do that to her before he escaped? Although Tang Ao had saved her, this request was too much. If Tang Ao really dared to do that to her, she could only choose to kill herself. "My name is Luo Tianyi, your surname is Luo? Not An?" Tang Ao had originally thought that Luo Tianyi was Enruosu's descendant, and in the place where Enruosu lived, according to the customs, the children of the next generation would follow their mother's surname. Tang Ao shook his head after saying this. When Enruosu died, she was still a virgin. How could she have descendants? But then, Tang Ao thought of something else. If he could reincarnate, why couldn't a good person like Enruosu? If Luo Tianyi's appearance was only 70% to 80% similar to Enruosu's, then Luo Tianyi's watery eyes were exactly the same as Enruosu's. "Junior sister Luo, you look very similar to an old friend of mine." Tang Ao did not say that Luo Tianyi was very likely Enruosu's reincarnation. It was just that Enruosu's memories had disappeared. Ah! Luo Tianyi was wondering why Tang Ao kept staring at her. So this was the reason. After understanding this, Luo Tianyi smiled. "Senior brother Tang Ao, can I see the image of this old friend of yours?" Chapter 761. Looking at the image in Tang Ao's hand, if Luo Tianyi hadn't known that she was the only daughter of her family, she would have thought that the woman in the image was her sister. The person in the image looked 70% to 80% similar to her, and her eyes were exactly the same as her own. Senior brother Tang Ao, what is the name of this sister? Tang Ao's long thoughts were pulled back to reality by Luo Tianyi. Looking at the image of Enruosu, Tang Ao's eyes also revealed a touch of gentleness. Her name is Enruosu, and she is a kind person. Luo Tianyi's heart shook when she heard Tang Ao's words. This was because she had a dream more than once. In her dream, she was called Enruosu. Moreover, in her dream, she was constantly refining elixirs. However, those elixirs were too shocking. They were all elixirs of grade 7 and above. In her dream, there was also a man beside her. However, the man's face was a little blurry. Tang Ao didn't notice the change in Luo Tianyi's expression. Instead, he casually walked away with Luo Tianyi. However, Luo Tianyi asked Tang Ao in a low voice, "Senior brother Tang Ao, can you tell me about Enruosu, sister?" Luo Tianyi had cultivated for a long time, so she naturally knew about reincarnation. Moreover, Luo Tianyi also wondered if she was the reincarnation of Enruosu. That was why she had dreamt of some fragments of her previous life. However, this matter was too shocking for Luo Tianyi. Moreover, if she really was the reincarnation of Enruosu, then she and Enruosu were the same person. It would be a little awkward to call Enruosu sister. Luo Tianyi was also curious about the relationship between Tang Ao and Enruosu. Or was it that Tang Ao was the vague figure in her dream? However, Luo Tianyi felt that it didn't seem like it. Although the figure she saw in her dream was blurry, it was filled with murderous intent that made people shudder. However, Tang Ao and Luo Tianyi didn't feel any killing intent at all. Junior sister Enruosu saved my life and is one of the top alchemists in the Black-Yellow continent. The more Tang Ao looked into Luo Tianyi's eyes, the more he felt that the Luo Tianyi in front of him was Enruosu from back then. Tang Ao didn't have a lover in his previous life, and he ended up lonely. And the one who had the deepest entanglement with Tang Ao was Enruosu. Before Tang Ao died, Enruosu's figure was the only one in front of him. Tang Ao told Luo Tianyi about how he got injured in his previous life, how he left Enruosu and what happened after that. Because these things were too unbelievable, Tang Ao thought that Luo Tianyi wouldn't believe him. However, when Tang Ao looked at Luo Tianyi with a self-deprecating smile, Luo Tianyi suddenly raised her hand and slapped Tang Ao in the face. Tang Ao was stunned, and his murderous intent unconsciously spread out. Luo Tianyi was frightened by Tang Ao's murderous intent. She hurriedly took a step back and raised her hands to cover her face. At the same time, she whispered, "Senior brother Tang Ao, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Don't hit me. I hit you on behalf of sister Enruosu." Although Luo Tianyi said this, she didn't think so at all. At this moment, Luo Tianyi was very sure that she was Enruosu's reincarnation, because the details that Tang Ao told her were almost exactly the same as the scene in her dream. Luo Tianyi hadn't told anyone about these things in her dream. Therefore, in Luo Tianyi's opinion, she had been let down by Tang Ao in her previous life. In this atmosphere, Luo Tianyi didn't hesitate to slap Tang Ao in the face. Chapter 762. Luo Tianyi was shocked by Tang Ao's sudden action, but she quickly recovered. Her petite figure naturally broke free from Tang Ao's clutches easily. After breaking free from Tang Ao's clutches, Luo Tianyi looked at Tang Ao angrily and said, "Senior brother Tang Ao, men and women should not touch each other. What if I can't get married in the future?" Although Luo Tianyi now believed that she was really Enruosu's reincarnation, Luo Tianyi still didn't want Tang Ao to know. Even if Tang Ao had entangled with her in her previous life, the two of them had only just met in this life. Even if she had a good impression of Tang Ao, her relationship with Tang Ao had clearly not developed to that stage. "Junior sister Luo, I'm sorry. I was rude. You don't have the memories of your previous life, or maybe you're not her at all. Who said I'm not her? After saying that, Luo Tianyi hurriedly covered her small mouth, afraid that she would accidentally spill the beans. Immediately, Luo Tianyi also felt relieved. Tang Ao had killed Ouyang Chen, so the 3 life and death realm warriors of the Ouyang clan would definitely chase Tang Ao and her to death. To be able to find out about one's previous life and meet an old friend from one's previous life before dying could be considered a kind of luck. Senior brother Tang Ao, you can call me Enruosu. We were able to meet in our previous life, and we can meet again in this life. Who knows, we might even meet again in our next life. Tang Ao was confused by Luo Tianyi. Although he didn't understand what Luo Tianyi was thinking, Tang Ao still called out, Susu. Enruosu nodded lightly and even took the initiative to hold Tang Ao's arm. Senior brother Tang Ao, we're going to die right after we reunited. It's such a pity. Listening to Enruosu's crisp and soft voice, as well as her somewhat youthful face, Tang Ao understood why Enruosu only looked 70% to 80% similar to her in his previous life. Junior apprentice sister, and I know why you only look 70 to 80% like you did in your previous life. Why? Enruosu asked curiously. Because in this life, you are still a young girl, budding and waiting to bloom. When I met you in my previous life, you were already a famous beauty. Tang Ao's words made Enruosu blush. However, Tang Ao was right. Enruosu was indeed young. However, Enruosu quickly turned to look at Tang Ao. Senior brother Tang Ao, you're not that old either. Tang Ao smiled. When he met Enruosu in his previous life, he was already invincible and had killed countless demon lords. In this life, he only had the appearance of a young man. Compared to Enruosu, who looked like a young girl, they were quite compatible. By the way, Susu, you said that we're going to die soon. What's going on? Enruosu looked at Tang Ao suspiciously. However, Tang Ao didn't look like he was joking at all. Could it be that Tang Ao really didn't know that the Ouyang clan still had 3 life and death realm warriors near the Nethersea? Senior brother Tang Ao, the Ouyang clan still has 3 life and death realm warriors near the Nethersea. You killed Ouyang Chen, so they should be coming to find us soon. Tang Ao thought it was something serious. He hadn't expected it to be such a small matter. Let them come, then. Ouyang Chen has too few understones on him. It's not enough. Hearing Tang Ao's words, Enruosu pursed her lips. Senior brother Tang Ao, have you forgotten that you are no longer the invincible demon lord? Chapter 763. Enruosu looked at Tang Ao's confident expression and couldn't help but shake her head. Senior brother Tang Ao, why don't we go and hide? Enruosu's face lit up. She then patted her head and said, I almost forgot. The 3 life and death realm powerhouses of the Ouyang family have all gone to the depths of the Netherworld Sea. If we leave now, the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm is so big. They definitely won't be able to find us. Tang Ao was speechless. Couldn't Enruosu have some confidence in him? Although Enruosu had been quiet and beautiful in his previous life, she had given off a cold vibe. In this life, Enruosu was still a young girl. She was a lot more lively and playful. Susu, can't you have some confidence in me? Could senior brother Tang Ao also be a life and death realm powerhouse? Upon hearing Tang Ao's words, Enruosu's eyes lit up as she looked at Tang Ao. I'm almost there. Under Enruosu's expectant gaze, Tang Ao felt a little embarrassed. Although Tang Ao now had the strength to fight an ordinary life and death realm powerhouse, Tang Ao's cultivation was only at the peak of the 9th floor of Linghai Jing. After hearing Tang Ao's words, Enruosu rolled her eyes at Tang Ao. That's it then. You haven't broken through to the life and death realm, and my cultivation is so low. Once the 3 life and death realm powerhouses of the Ouyang family return, we won't be able to leave even if we want to. At least you know your limits. And Ruosu had just finished speaking when a cold voice came down from the sky. Upon hearing this voice, Anruosu looked up in horror and saw Ouyang-du in midair. Senior brother Tang-Ao, let's go. It's Ouyang-du from the Ouyang family. Do you think you can leave? Ouyang-du's aura spread out. The aura of a first-stage life and death realm powerhouse was revealed. In an instant, all the warriors on the edge of the Netherworld Sea were attracted to Ouyang-du at the same time. Everyone followed Ouyang-du's gaze and saw a man and a woman. Of course, everyone knew this man and woman. The man was Tang-Ao, who had killed Ouyang-chen not long ago, and the woman was Luo Tianyi, who had been picking up leftovers by the Netherworld Sea. Tang-Ao patted Anruosu and gave her a reassuring smile. Then, he walked over to Anruosu. Seeing the heartwarming smile on Tang-Ao's face, Anruosu's maiden heart thumped wildly. No wonder she had been let down by this guy in her past life. He really was special, however, when she thought that she and Tang-Ao were about to face a life and death realm powerhouse. Anruosu's pretty face turned bitter again. You killed Ouyang-chen? Do you know what kind of price you have to pay for killing someone from the Ouyang clan? Ouyang-du's figure slowly descended as a vast and majestic aura spread out from his body. When Tang-Ao saw Ouyang-du's appearance, he couldn't help but shake his head. The aura of a life and death realm warrior was indeed much stronger than that of a spirit sea realm warrior. However, Ouyang-du was clearly deliberately using his spiritual power to stimulate his aura, creating the illusion of a mountain. If it were an ordinary spirit sea realm warrior, they might not even have the courage to step forward after feeling Ouyang-du's aura. Many of the surrounding warriors felt the powerful aura emitted from Ouyang-du's body and subconsciously took a few steps back, afraid that Ouyang-du's attack would be too fierce and accidentally injure them. At the same time, everyone looked at Tang-Ao and Anruosu sympathetically. Although it was reasonable for the two of them to kill Ouyang-chen, this was not a reasonable world. However, this was not a reasonable world. Whoever's fist was bigger was the one who was reasonable. If you want to fight, then fight. Why are you talking so much nonsense? As Tang-Ao spoke, a golden light flashed on his body. The Battle Sage Bone Life Soul was instantly activated, and he punched at Ouyang-du. Chapter 764. Seeing that Tang-Ao actually chose to fight Ouyang-du head-on, many people shook their heads. They had seen Tang-Ao's strength before. Although Tang-Ao was not as powerful as Ouyang-du, Tang-Ao was still one of the top Sea of Souls realm warriors. If Tang-Ao chose to fight Ouyang-du, then even if Tang-Ao was not Ouyang-du's opponent, he could still delay him long enough for his companions to escape. If he was lucky, Tang-Ao could even escape. Sigh. What a pity. A sigh came from behind the crowd. Everyone immediately turned around and saw a young man dressed in white holding a long sword in his hand. It's Yu Mankong, young master Yu. Seeing this person, someone in the crowd exclaimed. Anruosu also heard Yu Mankong's name and hurriedly squeezed in front of him. Senior brother Yu, please save my senior brother. Sigh. Your senior brother's spirit power is very condensed. If he could break through to the life and death realm, Ouyang-du would definitely not be his opponent. I'm afraid even I can't save him now. Senior brother Yu, I beg you. Seeing that Tang-Ao was in danger, Anruosu could not care about anything else. But this time, before Yu Mankong could say anything, a dull thud came from afar. Then, the familiar scene appeared again. Tang-Ao stepped on Ouyang-du's face, while Ouyang-du looked at Tang-Ao in disbelief. Tang-Ao was also a bit confused. Judging from his aura, this Ouyang-du was already at the peak of the first level of the Blood Dipper realm. Originally, Tang-Ao thought that he would have to spend a lot of effort to take him down. But what Tang-Ao did not expect was that this Ouyang-du was like a bag of grass on a pillow. Just now, Tang-Ao had destroyed Ouyang-du's layers of palm shadows with a single punch. Then, Tang-Ao took advantage of the situation and stepped on Ouyang-du, everyone's jaws dropped. How long had it been? Ouyang-du was actually defeated. Since when did life and death realm warriors become so trash? Or was Tang Ao simply pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Tang Ao himself was a very powerful life and death realm martial artist. Although this guess was not very reliable, it seemed very reasonable. This Tang Ao might not necessarily be a life and death realm warrior. He is just pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. A warrior voiced out everyone's thoughts. But I just saw the spirit power fluctuation on his body. He is indeed only at the Sea of Soul realm. The warrior didn't continue. It was not that Sea of Soul realm warriors had never defeated life and death realm warriors. However, a Sea of Soul realm warrior crushing a life and death realm warrior had never happened in the Black-Yellow continent. On the other hand, Sea of Soul realm warriors were often crushed by life and death realm warriors. Senior brother Ao, did you win? Anruosu ran to Tang Ao in disbelief and looked at Ao. Do you want me to lose? Tang Ao looked at Anruosu's delicate face and teased. No. Of course, I want senior brother Tang Ao to win. I just didn't expect senior brother Tang Ao to be so powerful. Anruosu had just finished speaking when she felt her body become light. She was carried up by Tang Ao. At the same time, 3 jet-black bone-eroding nails flew toward Tang Ao and Xiaqianyu. Under these 3 bone-eroding nails, Ouyang-du looked at Tang Ao with a sinister smile. Tang Ao had humiliated him so much today. Only by killing Tang Ao could he appease his anger. He admitted that Tang Ao was more powerful than him, but Tang Ao dared to face the bone-eroding nails head-on. He was simply courting death. Looking at the approaching bone-eroding nails, Anruosu's pretty face turned pale. Before the bone-eroding nails could get close, an ancient square cauldron appeared in front of Tang Ao and Anruosu. Chapter 765. Kacha. The sound of bones breaking rang out. Being smashed by the farmer god cauldron, Ouyang-du's aura instantly weakened. However, Tang Ao knew that although Ouyang-du had been smashed by the farmer god cauldron, he wasn't dead yet. Tang Ao waved his hand and received the farmer god cauldron. He then coldly looked at Ouyang-du. If he didn't have the farmer god cauldron to protect him, he would have fallen into Ouyang-du's trap. Ouyang clan indeed couldn't be underestimated. No matter how powerful they were, their methods were definitely sinister. Seeing Tang Ao closing in on him, Ouyang-du became afraid. You can't kill me. I'm from Ouyang clan. If you kill me, you and Ouyang clan will become mortal enemies. Ouyang clan isn't something you can afford to offend. Ever since I started cultivating, I've never offended Ouyang clan. On the contrary, Ouyang clan has always been at odds with me. Today, I, Tang Ao, am also someone your Ouyang clan can't afford to offend. After speaking, Tang Ao casually slashed out with sword chi. Ouyang-du's soul was shredded into pieces by Tang Ao's sharp sword chi. The battle between Tang Ao and Ouyang-du happened so quickly that the spectators couldn't react. However, Tang Ao became the topic of discussion for a period of time. In just a day, he had killed 2 people from Ouyang clan. Originally, everyone thought that Tang Ao was already a dead man under the pursuit of Ouyang clan. But now, it seemed that they had overestimated Ouyang clan and underestimated Tang Ao. After Tang Ao killed Ouyang-du, Yumankong had already quietly retreated. Compared to others, his information was much more flexible. Not long ago, he heard that there was a powerful Sea of Soul realm warrior in Underworld Emperor Mountain called Tang Ao. He also heard that Tang Ao had the primordial sacred sky bow and supreme clear mysterious mirror. At first, Yumankong snorted disdainfully at this matter. In his opinion, what ability did a Sea of Soul realm warrior have to obtain these treasures? However, Yumankong discovered that Tang Ao seemed to really possess the strength to do so. It was just that Ouyang-du was too useless in this battle. From the beginning to the end, Tang Ao did not take out the primordial sacred heavenly bow and the Tai Ching mysterious mirror to fight. That's not right. Yuman Kong thought of something else. Other than the primordial sacred heavenly bow and the supreme clear mystic mirror, there was also a rumor that Tang Ao also had the Shenong cauldron that belonged to the Shenong Emperor. Wasn't the cauldron that Tang Ao took out just now the Shenong cauldron? At the thought of this, Yuman Kong's eyes lit up. From Tang Ao's previous attack, Yuman Kong was sure that Tang Ao was only at the Sea of Soul realm, and not at the Life and Death realm. Although the density of Tang Ao's spiritual power was comparable to that of most first-level Life and Death realm martial artists, it might even be stronger. However, Tang Ao was indeed only at the Sea of Soul realm. It was just that Tang Ao's true strength seemed to have reached the peak of the first-level Life and Death realm. Although Ouyang Du was also at the peak of the first-level Life and Death realm, in Yuman Kong's opinion, his strength was far inferior to some peak Sea of Soul realm martial artists. Clearly, he had relied on elixirs to forcefully increase his strength. After looking at Tang Ao for a while longer, Yuman Kong decided to find some helpers. It was not easy before, but now, Ouyang clan would definitely be willing to join hands with him. Chapter 766. And Ruosu naturally agreed to Tang Ao's suggestion. Although she still wanted to leave, she knew that this was probably the greatest opportunity in the entire Underworld Emperor mystic realm. If she and Tang Ao left this place, it would be difficult to find such a good place in the Underworld Emperor mystic realm. When Tang Ao and Enrosu arrived at the Netherworld Sea again, they didn't meet Chi Tian. Originally, Tang Ao was going to take Chi Tian's spirit boat out to sea, but since Chi Tian wasn't there, Tang Ao could only take someone else's spirit boat. However, when Tang Ao was about to walk to a spirit boat carrying 6 people, he saw a warrior selling a spirit boat. It was a yellow-haired young man. He was a little thin, but his eyes were extremely sharp. "Friend, how much is this spirit boat?" Tang Ao felt that since they couldn't stay in the Netherworld Sea for a long time, it was naturally best to have a spirit boat. "You can't afford it. Get lost." The yellow-haired young man glanced at Tang Ao. When he saw that both Tang Ao and Enruosu were at the Spirit Sea realm, his tone was a little cold. "You haven't told us the price yet. How do you know we can't afford it?" Enruosu didn't like the yellow-haired young man's attitude, but if she and Tang Ao really wanted to search for the Netherstone in the Netherworld Sea for a long time, they needed a spirit boat. Otherwise, she would have persuaded Tang Ao to leave. Hearing Enruosu's words, the yellow-haired young man sneered. "Do you have 10 bottles of 5th-grade pills? If you don't, get lost. Here you go." Without waiting for Tang Ao to speak, Enruosu raised her hand and threw 10 bottles of pills over. This time, it was Tang Ao's turn to be surprised. Tang Ao naturally had these pills because Tang Ao had already become a 6th-grade alchemist. However, Tang Ao immediately felt relieved. Enruosu was an 8th-grade alchemist in her previous life, so it was only natural that she would become a 5th-grade alchemist in this life. The yellow-haired youth didn't expect that the 2 spiritual sea realm martial artists in front of him would actually have the fantasy-breaking pill. He didn't say anything and directly put away the fantasy-breaking pill. Then, the yellow-haired youth glanced at Tang Ao and said, "I'm going to use the spirit boat to go out to sea. You can follow me. Once I reach my destination, the spirit boat will belong to you. Of course, if you don't dare to come, I won't refund the pills." Tang Ao didn't like the yellow-haired youth's words. Although this yellow-haired young man had hidden his cultivation, Tang Ao could still recognize that he was a 3rd-stage life and death realm warrior. If it were just Tang Ao alone, then Tang Ao would definitely agree without any hesitation. This was because Tang Ao was not afraid that the yellow-haired youth would play any tricks. However, now that Enruosu was with them, Tang Ao was worried that he would not be able to ensure her safety. And Ruosu seemed to see the worry in Tang Ao's eyes. She whispered to Tang Ao, "Senior brother Tang Ao, I will go wherever you go." Tang Ao nodded, then said to the yellow-haired youth, "Let's go." Hee, interesting. The yellow-haired youth looked at Tang Ao and laughed. Then, he stepped into the void and landed on his spirit boat. Although his speed was fast, when he landed on the spirit boat, the yellow-haired youth was like a feather. Even the calm surface of the sea didn't have a single ripple. Tang Ao also picked up an Ruosu and leaped onto the spirit boat. However, Tang Ao didn't deliberately hide his figure. His body stepped heavily on the spirit boat. If it weren't for the special material of the spirit boat, Tang Ao's step would have shattered the spirit boat. Chapter 767. However, when everyone saw the yellow-haired young man opposite Tang Ao, they all withdrew their gazes. Huang He had been selling spirit boats by the Netherworld Sea for a long time. Naturally, there had been some people who thought they were capable enough to buy a spirit boat and go out to sea with Huang He. Without exception, those who had gone out to sea with Huang He had yet to return, and Huang He had sold his own spirit boat. Huang He did not care about Tang Ao's actions at all. He made a few hand seals and prepared to control the spirit boat to leave the shore. However, Tang Ao stopped him. "Let me try. You just point the way." The spirit boat was controlled the same way as an ordinary flying magic treasure. However, this spirit boat could only travel on the surface of the sea. It could not fly. Huang He indifferently sat to the side. "Just keep walking straight. When I tell you to stop, just stop." When Tang Ao heard this, he made a hand seal. The spirit boat trembled slightly and began to move. At first, the speed was a little slow. However, as Tang Ao gradually became more familiar with it, the spirit boat's speed suddenly increased. In the end, Tang Ao even sat next to Enrosu. He did not foolishly control the spirit boat at the bow like everyone else. Even though Tang Ao sat next to Enrosu, the spirit boat's speed did not slow down at all. However, the place where Huang He wanted to go seemed to be very far away. Since there were no other spirit boats around, he had not arrived at his destination yet. Huang He looked at Tang Ao's calm appearance as he controlled the spirit boat to travel so far. He could not help but turn his eyes. "What's wrong? You haven't arrived at your destination yet?" Tang Ao felt that they were already deep in the Netherworld Sea. However, Huang He had not spoken. Tang Ao did not know how far Huang He wanted to go. "To be honest, I have already arrived at my original destination," Huang He said calmly. It seemed that he was not angry that Tang Ao had not stopped at his destination. And Ruosu panicked. "Then why didn't you say so earlier? There's no one around us right now. We might have already reached the central region of the Netherworld Sea." "You're wrong. We are already in the depths of the Netherworld Sea." Huang He was talking to Enruosu, but his eyes were fixed on Tang Ao. Huang He wanted to know if Tang Ao's soul power was really so vigorous, or if Tang Ao was pretending to be calm, when in fact, he was like a lamp that had run out of oil. However, Huang He couldn't see anything from Tang Ao's expression. Right now, Tang Ao's soul power was almost not consumed at all. While controlling the spirit boat, Tang Ao was also recovering. Tang Ao had the Jade Bone Life Soul and the Hidden Jade in Stone Body. His soul power was several times stronger than an ordinary martial artist's, and his recovery speed was much faster than an ordinary martial artist's. Initially, Tang Ao's soul power was still somewhat consumed. However, after Tang Ao got used to it, the consumption of soul power to control the spirit boat and the speed at which Tang Ao recovered his soul power reached a balance. "Since we have passed your destination, let's go back. However, if you don't explain your destination clearly this time, I will have to ask you to leave." Tang Ao's voice was very calm. Even though Huang He was a third-stage life and death realm martial artist, Tang Ao was not the slightest bit afraid. Huang He did not care about Tang Ao's attitude at all. Instead, he said to Tang Ao, 1,000 miles ahead, there is a special sea region. That sea region is different from the rest of the Netherworld Sea. It is filled with a very powerful miasma. As long as you can drive the spirit boat to that place, I will pay you 1,000 low-grade underworld stones. Chapter 768. Anruosu was a little sluggish. She had been in the Nethersea for such a long time, but the total number of netherstones she had obtained so far was less than 100. However, this yellow-haired young man in front of her could easily take out 1,000 netherstones. Judging from his casual manner, 1,000 netherstones did not seem to be worth mentioning to him at all. After Tang Ao stopped the spirit boat, Huang He's face turned cold. At the same time, he said in a gloomy voice, I don't like the spirit boat stopping on the Nethersea. As Huang He spoke, a strong spiritual power swept out from his body. Before he could use his spiritual power to suppress Tang Ao's soul power shook, and the spirit boat buzzed. This time, the speed of the spirit boat was more than 5 times faster than before. However, the spirit boat was now traveling in the opposite direction. Seeing Tang Ao's actions, Huang He was shocked. Friend, please stop. I was reckless just now. Let's talk this out. However, Tang Ao had no intention of stopping the spirit boat. After slowing down, he continued to steer the spirit boat in the opposite direction. Huang He cried bitterly in his heart when he saw Tang Ao's actions. In such a short time, Tang Ao had already steered the spirit boat back nearly 50 kilometers. The Nethersea had a special characteristic. The deeper one went into the Nethersea, the more soul power one consumed to steer the spirit boat. Traveling 50 kilometers back and forth obviously consumed a lot of soul power. Friend, my name is Huang He. There is a sea region filled with miasma 500 kilometers ahead. There is a ruin in that sea region, which is most likely left behind by a powerhouse of a great emperor. If you are interested, we can cooperate. Huang He could see that Tang Ao was not easy to deal with, so he simply told the truth. I am Tang Ao, and this is my junior sister, Anruosu. Since we are cooperating, why don't you be more honest, brother Huang? Tang Ao did not know whether there was a problem with Huang He's words, but Tang Ao felt that Huang He seemed indifferent, but Tang Ao felt that he was a scheming fellow. Ha ha, not bad. We are still 1,500 kilometers away from the ruin. How about Brother Tang and I each control the spirit boat to sail for 1,500 kilometers? Sure, but I will only control the spirit boat to travel 1,000 miles. I will leave the remaining 2,000 miles to you. If there is any extra distance, I will leave it to you as well. Tang Ao looked at Huang He and said calmly. Hearing Tang Ao's words, Huang He's expression became interesting. He had been selling spirit boats in the Nethersea for a long time, but this was the first time he had encountered such a troublesome fellow. I'll tell you the truth. There are still 5,000 kilometers to go. I can take care of 3,000 kilometers, and I can drive the spirit boat for the next 3,000 kilometers. As for the remaining 2,000 kilometers, you have to ensure that you can complete it. Okay. After Tang Ao finished speaking, he simply withdrew his soul power from the spirit boat. Without any hesitation, Huang He unleashed his soul power and steered the spirit boat forward. Brother Huang, how are we going to split the spoils when we reach the ruins? Although Tang Ao estimated that Huang He would most likely turn against him when they arrived at the ruins, Tang Ao still wanted to know more about the ruins. You don't have to worry that I'll fall out with you when we reach the ruins. The ruins are an illusory maze array, and there are no less than 100 entrances. When we get there, we will each find an entrance to enter. However, there is a requirement that we leave the spirit boat outside. After 30 days, no matter which one of us comes out, we don't have to wait for the other and can drive the spirit boat away. But what if you go out before 30 days? Tang Ao asked bluntly. Ha ha, you don't have to worry about that. The exit of this illusory maze array won't open before 30 days, so no one can get out. Moreover, if you can't get out after 30 days, you don't have to come out anymore because, ha ha. Huang He seemed to know the illusory maze array very well, but he was unwilling to elaborate. Chapter 769. Hearing Tang Ao's question, Huang He looked at Tang Ao mockingly, because those who can't walk out of the illusion array after 30 days will be killed by it. I won't hide it from you, I was also one of the first batch of cultivators to come to the Netherworld Sea. Back then, a group of 12 of us entered the illusory array of this ruin, but in the end, only me and another person walked out. Tang Ao had already guessed that Huang He might have entered the illusion array, but Tang Ao didn't expect that not only did Huang He enter the illusion array, but he was also one of the 2 survivors. You said that there was another person besides you who came out. Who was the other person? Ouyang aristocrat clan, Ouyang Duan. Huang He didn't hide this matter. The person who came out with him was indeed Ouyang Duan from the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Among the 12 people who entered, his and Ouyang Duan's strength was ranked at the bottom. But what no one expected was that the 2 of them who were the weakest came out, while the other 10 people who were stronger died in the illusion array. Ouyang Duan. Hearing this familiar name, a cold glint appeared in Tang Ao's eyes. He didn't have any grudges with the Ouyang aristocrat clan, but this Ouyang Duan kept making things difficult for him. After he killed so many people from the Ouyang aristocrat clan, there would be a battle between him and Ouyang Duan sooner or later. But he didn't know how much Ouyang Duan had grown. Being able to be one of the first batch of cultivators to enter the Netherworld Sea, his strength shouldn't be weak. From here to the ruins that Huang He mentioned, there was still a distance of 5,000 miles. With a thought, Tang Ao sent his soul power into the Netherworld Sea. Just like at the edge of the Netherworld Sea, the seawater of the Netherworld Sea had a hindrance to a cultivator's soul power. However, this hindrance had a very small effect on Tang Ao. Tang Ao's soul power quickly discovered some low-grade underworld stones. However, unlike in Ruosu, Tang Ao didn't jump into the Netherworld Sea to collect the underworld stones. Instead, after discovering the underworld stones, he used his spiritual power to sweep them up. After seeing that this idea was feasible, Tang Ao didn't stand on ceremony. Along the way, Tang Ao kept taking netherstones from the Nethersea. And Ruosu's beautiful eyes lit up as she watched from the side. She also wanted to collect the netherstones like Tang Ao, but her soul power wasn't as strong as Tang Ao's. Feeling helpless, Ruosu could only take out her pill furnace and refine the absurd pill on the spirit boat. According to Huang He, the ruins were hidden in the thick miasma. If they wanted to move around in the ruins, they would need to prepare enough breakthrough pills. The boldness pill was only a 5th-grade spirit pill, while Ruosu was already a 6th-grade elixir king, just like Tang Ao. Therefore, it was very easy for Ruosu to refine the pill. Moreover, Ruosu's refining speed was much faster than Tang Ao's. Tang Ao had been watching the Netherworld Sea with his soul power. It wasn't until he smelled the pill fragrance that Tang Ao came back to his senses. Then, Tang Ao saw Ruosu, who looked like a young girl, quietly refining the pill. As she performed a familiar pill art, round and plump breakthrough pills fell into the jade bottle in Ruosu's hand. After refining a batch of breakthrough pills, Ruosu felt as if someone was staring at her. Immediately, Ruosu looked up and saw Tang Ao staring at her in a daze. Ruosu looked around and found nothing out of the ordinary. "Senior brother Tang Ao, why do you keep staring at me?" Ruosu tilted her head and asked curiously. "Senior brother Tang Ao." Chapter 770. Tang Ao knew that it wasn't that the Shennong Emperor's inheritance wasn't good, nor was it that his alchemy talent wasn't good enough. It was that Unruosu's alchemy talent was just too monstrous. In his previous life, Unruosu had become a pinnacle grade 8 elixir king without anyone to teach her. She was only one step away from becoming a grade 9 elixir emperor. In this life, Tang Ao didn't know that Unruosu had no one to teach her alchemy, but her alchemy skills were equally terrifying. Senior brother Tang Ao, do you also know alchemy? Unruosu looked at Tang Ao with her big watery eyes. In her dream, she remembered that Tang Ao had always been watching her alchemy. She had never known that Tang Ao knew alchemy. She was Unruosu's reincarnation, but her reincarnation was different from Tang Ao's. Tang Ao had inherited all the memories of his previous life, including the monstrous physique of the hidden jade body in stone. However, after Unruosu was reincarnated, only some fragmented memories would appear in her dreams. I know a little. Tang Ao nodded. Is senior brother Tang Ao being modest on purpose? Unruosu looked at Tang Ao with her hands on her cheek. Before Tang Ao could reply, Huang He couldn't help but interject. This kid is definitely not modest. Little girl, this is the first time I've seen someone become a grade 6 elixir king at your age. Huang He originally just wanted to use Tang Ao's powerful soul power to quickly reach the ruins, but after seeing that Unruosu was a grade 6 elixir king, Huang He wanted to cooperate with Tang Ao. Unruosu ignored Huang He and said to Tang Ao, "Why don't senior brother Tang Ao come and refine a batch of pills?" Okay. Tang Ao didn't refuse. According to Huang He, because the ruins were filled with miasma, he needed to prepare more pills. The breakthrough pill was only a Tier 5 spirit pill. As a Tier 6 elixir king, Tang Ao naturally did not feel any pressure when refining this kind of pill. With a wave of his hand, Tang Ao took out a pile of spiritual grasses from his storage ring and floated beside Tang Ao. Unruosu was slightly taken aback when she saw the 13 types of spiritual herbs that Tang Ao had taken out. Out of the 13 types of spiritual herbs that Tang Ao took out, 6 of them were used to refine the fantasy-breaking pill, but the remaining ones were not. Moreover, refining the fantasy-breaking pill required 14 types of spiritual herbs, but Tang Ao only took out 13. Could it be that what Tang Ao refined was not the broken bowl pill? Senior brother Tang Ao, aren't you refining the absurd breaking pill? Unruosu's eyes flickered with doubt. Part of her pill recipes had been found and collected by her, and part of them had been deduced by her. Most of them had been improved upon the original pill recipes. However, with the spiritual herbs that Tang Ao was using, Unruosu could not imagine what kind of pill Tang Ao was going to refine. I am also going to refine the breakthrough pill. However, there are some changes to the original breakthrough pill. The original breakthrough pill can clear a martial artist's mind and prevent them from being invaded by evil spirit. However, the improved breakthrough pill can also restore a portion of a martial artist's soul power. Tang Ao did not hide anything from Unruosu. Although Huang He was beside him, Tang Ao knew that it would be useless for Huang He to hear it. This fellow simply did not know how to refine pills. After speaking, Tang Ao threw the 13 spiritual herbs into Unruosu's alchemy furnace. Compared to Tang Ao's Shinnon cauldron, Unruosu's alchemy furnace was small and cute. It was as petite as a young girl. In his previous life, Tang Ao had a good impression of Unruosu. However, Unruosu had given Tang Ao a somewhat cold feeling. Tang Ao had not expected that Unruosu would have the heart of a princess when she was a young girl. Chapter 771. Under Tang Ao's control, the herbs turned to ashes in the furnace one by one. 13 balls of spiritual herb essence kept spinning in the furnace. Tang Ao didn't start condensing the elixir immediately. Instead, he kept purifying the elixir essence and burning it to ashes. Unruosu's furnace was not bad. Although it couldn't compare to the Shinnon cauldron, it was still a 6th grade furnace. As Tang Ao purified the elixir essence, the color of the elixir became crystal clear. An ordinary absurd breaking pill was a grayish-white elixir. However, the absurd breaking pill that Tang Ao had modified was a little different. When the elixir essence was more or less refined, Tang Ao used several pill arts and began to condense the elixir. 12 pills spun in the furnace, slowly taking shape as they revolve. During the process of condensing the elixir, a soothing pill fragrance wafted out. After smelling this pill fragrance, Unruosu and Huang He felt their spirits lift. Hee, I couldn't tell that Brother Tang is also a 6th grade elixir king. Huang He was really shocked by Tang Ao. At the same time, Huang He was also puzzled. Since when were there so many 6th grade elixir kings? Unruosu was a 6th grade elixir king, and so was Tang Ao. In Huang He's memory, even some top-notch sects didn't have a 6th grade elixir king. It was said that there were no more than 10 6th grade elixir kings in the entire black-yellow continent. Huang He felt a little sad. There were no more than 10 6th grade elixir kings, but he actually saw 2 of them today. Tang Ao made a pill art with his hands, and 12 crystal clear, dark green elixir pills flew into the jade bottle that Tang Ao had prepared in advance. After refining Tang Ao's elixir, Tang Ao looked at Unruosu and asked, "Susu, how is it?" Unruosu nodded. "If this elixir is really as amazing as Senior Tang Ao said, then Senior Tang Ao is very amazing. Senior Brother Tang Ao, can I try one of the pills you refined?" Tang Ao smiled. "Sure, but aren't you afraid of poison?" When Unruosu heard Tang Ao agree, she was very happy. However, Tang Ao's last sentence made Unruosu dumbfounded. Fortunately, at this time, Huang He said, "Brother Tang Ao, I'm not afraid of poison. Give me one too." "I'm not afraid either. I want to try it too." Unruosu also looked at Tang Ao. Tang Ao opened the jade bottle, took out 2 pills, and handed them to the 2 of them. Tang Ao had refined this kind of elixir in the Shennong Emperor's palace. After he succeeded, Tang Ao naturally tasted it. Although this pill was still called the boldness-breaking pill, its value was completely different from the boldness-breaking pill. The moment the pill melted in their mouths, Unruosu and Huang He revealed looks of disbelief. After consuming this pill, they felt their bodies become much more relaxed. At the same time, their soul power perception became clearer, as though they could see through all illusions. Furthermore, their soul power had also been restored. At the same time, they felt that their soul power seemed to have become stronger. After sensing the extraordinariness of Tang Ao's pill, Unruosu said to Tang Ao in an excited tone, "Senior Brother Tang Ao, the boldness-breaking pill is only effective in special terrains. However, a good boldness-breaking pill can already help a warrior speed up their cultivation. It might even be effective when you're trying to comprehend your life soul." Chapter 772. Entering the major kiliacosm to gain insight into a life soul was to enter the major kiliacosm in soul form and communicate with the various strange life souls in the 36 levels. The strength of a warrior's soul was crucial. The strength of a warrior's soul would constantly increase as their cultivation level increased. However, this increase was undoubtedly very slow. As a warrior's cultivation level increased, their soul power perception would also increase. However, the strength of a warrior's soul did not increase by much. Tang Ao had entered the major kiliacosm many times to gain insight into a life soul. Therefore, Tang Ao naturally knew that the stronger one's soul was, the higher the celestial life soul could be. There were 36 levels in the major kiliacosm. Each level's pressure on the soul increased several-fold. The strength of a warrior's soul determined which level they could reach. The stronger their soul power, the more time they would have to choose their life soul. The improved fantasy-breaking pill that Tang Ao had refined could strengthen a warrior's soul for a period of time. Therefore, it had a miraculous effect on gaining insight into a life soul. Previously, Tang Ao had been certain that this improved pill was not simple. However, Tang Ao had not expected the improved pill to be so impressive. Senior brother Tang Ao, although this pill of yours is an improved version of the fantasy-breaking pill, its effects far exceed the fantasy-breaking pills. Why don't you give it a new name? Unruosu said with a smile. Tang Ao nodded. Let's call it the Elemental Heart Pill. Why is it called that? Unruosu felt a little strange. She had also studied the recipe for a type of pill, and that pill was called the Elemental Heart Pill. However, her Elemental Heart Pill was much inferior to Tang Ao's Elemental Heart Pill. Naturally, Tang Ao would not tell Unruosu that the Elemental Heart Pill was a pill that Unruosu had created in his previous life. Instead, he said, because Susu was the one who discovered the value of this pill. In his previous life, Tang Ao had called Unruosu. He had only dared to call her junior sister, and otherwise, Unruosu would have immediately fallen out with him. But in this life, Unruosu didn't have the memories of her previous life. Naturally, Tang Ao had the advantage of calling her Susu. When Unruosu heard Tang Ao's words, her pretty face blushed. She lowered her head and did not dare to look at Tang Ao. At this moment, Tang Ao handed a storage ring to Unruosu. Susu, your skill in alchemy is already very good. However, your cultivation is still a bit lacking. This netherstone is a pretty good item. You should hurry up and improve your cultivation. In the storage ring that Tang Ao handed to Unruosu, there were more than 3,000 low-grade underworld stones, more than 600 middle-grade underworld stones, and dozens of high-grade underworld stones. This many netherstones were enough for Unruosu to raise her cultivation base to the peak of the 9th floor of Linghai Jing. Senior brother Tang Ao, this is too precious. I can't accept it. Even though Unruosu also wanted to improve her cultivation base, so many underworld stones were simply too valuable. Although it was easy for Tang Ao to obtain the netherstones, Unruosu still returned the storage ring to Tang Ao. Tang Ao smiled slightly. You can take it and use it. What kind of relationship do we have? But, Unruosu wanted to say that she didn't remember the memories of her previous life. In this life, she and Tang Ao seemed to have only just met each other. In Unruosu's subconscious mind, she had always thought that in her previous life, she and Tang Ao were lovers who would go through life and death together. That was why Tang Ao treated her like this. It was just that she really didn't remember the memories of her previous life. Hence, Tang Ao's actions left her at a loss. After thinking for a moment, Tang Ao said, "How about this? I'll borrow these netherstones from you. You can return them to me slowly in the future." Chapter 773. On the Nethersea, the spirit boat was the only spirit artifact that could sail. Although Huang He and Tang Ao drove the spirit boat quickly, it still took them a long time to travel 5,000 miles. Originally, Huang He and Tang Ao had agreed that Huang He would drive the spirit boat 3,000 miles first, and Tang Ao would drive the remaining 2,000 miles. However, Tang Ao did not agree. The Nethersea was different from other seas. The deeper they went, the greater the resistance. Therefore, after Huang He drove the spirit boat for 1,000 miles, Tang Ao began to control the spirit boat to continue moving forward. After Tang Ao drove the spirit boat, Huang He tried to collect the underworld stones from the bottom of the sea like Tang Ao. However, Huang He tried several times, but he could not collect the underworld stones from the bottom of the sea. What made Huang He depressed was that he could not collect the underworld stones, while Tang Ao was controlling the spirit boat to collect underworld stones from the bottom of the sea from time to time. Comparisons are odious. You can collect underworld stones from the bottom of the sea while controlling the spirit boat. If you were in the first batch of martial artists to come to the Nethersea, you might already be at the peak of the life and death realm. Huang He was unable to collect the underworld stones from the bottom of the sea, so he sat cross-legged and adjusted his breathing. As one of the first batch of martial artists to come to the Nethersea, although his speed of collecting underworld stones was far inferior to Tang Ao's, he did not lack underworld stones. As they moved forward, Tang Ao suddenly stopped the spirit boat and probed the Nethersea with his soul power. "Senior brother Tang Ao, why did you stop?" Anruosu asked curiously. Huang He also looked at Tang Ao with a puzzled expression. The moment Tang Ao stopped the spirit boat, Huang He swept his soul power in all directions, but under his soul power perception, he didn't find any abnormalities. "What? Did you find something?" Tang Ao pointed to the sea and said, "There seems to be an underworld stone mine." Tang Ao did not know if there was an underworld stone mine, but there were many underworld stones in this sea. And in the direction that Tang Ao was pointing, there was a large trench thousands of feet below, and the trench exuded a dense aura of netherstone. With the help of Tang Ao's soul power, he could sense netherstones of various grades flying out of the trench from time to time. Among the underworld stones that were sent flying, there were light purple low-grade underworld stones and purple mid-grade underworld stones. Even dark purple high-grade underworld stones flew out from the trench from time to time. As for the purplish-black supreme-grade netherstone, Tang Ao did not see it. And Ruosu also swept her soul power in the direction Tang Ao was pointing. However, Anruosu didn't find the huge trench. Instead, she saw many underworld stones that had been washed away. Anruosu covered her small mouth in surprise. Thousands of underworld stones were being thrown into the air at every moment. Such a scene was too shocking. Huang He's soul power was stronger, so he also saw the trench that Tang Ao saw. The shock in Huang He's heart was no less than that of Tang Ao and Anruosu. After coming to the Nethersea for such a long time, Huang He had naturally come across a few dark stone mines. However, compared to the trench that Tang Ao had discovered, those dark stone mines were like heaven and earth. It was immeasurable. "Brother Tang Ao, to be honest, I have never seen such a place after coming to the Nethersea for so long. Why don't we go down and check it out?" Huang He already had tens of thousands of low-grade underworld stones and more than 10,000 mid-grade underworld stones. However, Huang He only had a few thousand high-grade underworld stones. Huang He only had one supreme-grade underworld stone. Chapter 774. If Brother Huang is interested, you can explore it yourself. Junior sister and I will not be going. Tang Ao felt that there might not be top-grade underworld stones in the trench, but he did not need them that much. Hence, he was not in a hurry to find them. Tang Ao's refusal to explore the trench with him put Huang He in a difficult position. And Ruosu's thoughts were simple. Even if he left her on the spirit boat, Huang He was not worried that she would take the spirit boat away. However, Huang He felt that Tang Ao was a little cunning. If Tang Ao took the opportunity to drive the spirit boat away while he was looking for the underworld stones, then Huang He would be finished. They were already deep in the netherworld sea, and there was no place to land. With his cultivation level, he would be sucked into the netherworld sea in less than 30 breaths of time. If he stayed in the netherworld sea for more than 30 breaths of time, he would be turned into a puddle of thick water. Although the underworld stones were good, his life was clearly more important. However, Huang He did not want to give up. "Brother Tang Ao, to be honest, even with my cultivation level, I will die without a spirit boat in the netherworld sea. There is a high possibility that there are top-grade underworld stones in the trench. I have been in the netherworld sea for so long, but I only have one top-grade underworld stone. Most of the places in the netherworld sea have no reference points, so it is difficult to locate them. If we can find this trench this time, we might not be able to find it the next time we come. Tang Ao did not say anything and continued to listen to Huang He. At the same time, Tang Ao was thinking of ways to collect the underworld stones. There were so many underworld stones in the trench. If he could collect the underworld stones here, he would not have to worry about the underworld stones for his cultivation in the future. Brother Tang Ao, I am afraid that you will take the spirit boat away when I enter the trench. If that happens, I will be finished. Hence, if Brother Tang Ao wants to collect the underworld stones, we can go down together. Of course, I will also tell you everything I know about the Three Saint Ruins. If Brother Tang Ao is still unwilling, we can only go to the Trinity Saint Ruins directly. It's just that these netherstones are really too much of a waste. Tang Ao looked at Huang He in disdain. Previously, when he asked Huang He what kind of ruins this was, Huang He always avoided the topic. When they talked about the Three Saints' relics, they would always refer to this relic and that relic. Therefore, apart from knowing that the Three Saints' ruins was extraordinary, Tang Ao did not even know its name. All right, I agree to take the netherstones. However, I am worried about my junior sister. You can go find the netherstones on your own. At the same time, if you find any top-grade netherstones, we'll split them evenly. If you don't agree, we'll leave. Next time, we'll have to rely on our own luck to find more, said Tang Ao, leaving no room for discussion. There's no problem with sharing the supreme-grade netherstone equally, but how can I be sure that you won't drive the spirit boat and run away? Tang Ao had not expected that Huang He would actually agree to his proposal. I can't make you trust me. However, if you don't want these netherstones, we can just continue on our way. If he wanted Tang Ao to explore the trench with him, Tang Ao would never be willing. It was true that there were good things under the trench, but Tang Ao could faintly feel the danger under the trench. Huang He thought for a moment. He casually placed a restriction on the two short knives and placed them in the middle of the spirit boat. Then, he said, I used my own blood to refine these two short knives. Once I die, these two short knives will explode. The power of the explosion is enough to blow the spirit boat into pieces. When I go down to explore the trench, once you control the spirit boat and leave, I will explode myself. Chapter 775. Upon hearing Tang Ao's agreement, Huang He jumped into the netherworld sea without hesitation and dove straight into the huge trench that was constantly spewing out profound stones. If an ordinary spirit sea realm warrior had been in the netherworld sea, the seawater would have invaded their bodies and killed them within 30 breaths of time. However, Huang He was a life and death realm warrior. At the same time, Huang He had a protective technique. After he used this technique, he could stay in the netherworld sea for more than 300 breaths of time. In a special place like the netherworld sea, Huang He's protective technique was an unparalleled treasure for everyone. Until now, Huang He had never used it in front of anyone. This time, however, Huang He used it in front of Tang Ao and Enruos. This wasn't because Huang He trusted Tang Ao and Enruos. Ever since Huang He had started cultivating, he had never trusted anyone but himself. The reason he had used this protective technique in front of Tang Ao and Enruosu was because he was sure that Tang Ao and Enruosu were already dead. Dead people definitely couldn't leak this protective technique. Although Tang Ao hadn't gone into the netherworld sea, Tang Ao's soul power had been watching Huang He, who was in the seawater. When Huang He revealed his killing intent, Tang Ao had naturally noticed it. At the same time, Tang Ao had also discovered that Huang He's body was flickering with circles of light, which completely protected his body and prevented the netherworld sea's seawater from hurting him. 30 breaths of time passed in the blink of an eye. Not only did Huang He have no intention of coming back up, but he also continued to head deeper into the netherworld sea. Upon seeing this, Tang Ao understood why Huang He had revealed his killing intent. Everyone had their own fortuitous encounters and secret. Tang Ao had many secrets since he had started cultivating. At the same time, Huang He also had secret. However, Huang He clearly didn't want others to know this secret, which was why he had wanted to kill Luo Yunyang and Enruosu. As he looked at the crude restriction on the spirit boat, Tang Ao really wanted to remove it and head to the Three Saint Ruins. Huang He was very proud of his restriction, but it wasn't worth mentioning in Yi Xian's eyes. If Tang Ao wanted to, Tang Ao could casually break this kind of restriction. However, Tang Ao did not do so in the end. Firstly, Tang Ao did not know the exact location of the Trinity Saint Ruins. Secondly, Tang Ao also wanted to see if there were any top-grade underworld stones in this trench. Senior brother Tang Ao, could something have happened to senior brother Huang He? Even a life and death realm expert cannot stay in the dark sea for more than 60 breaths of time. Otherwise, he will die without a doubt. Senior apprentice brother Huang He has been in the sea for nearly 100 breaths of time. Seeing that Huang He hadn't come back up after so long, Enruosu felt a little scared as she looked at the restrictions on the spirit boat. Just now, Huang He had said that if he encountered any danger and died, he would not hesitate to detonate the natal spiritual weapon in the restriction. Not only is this guy not dead, but he is also thinking about how to kill people. Tang Ao smiled at Enruosu as he used his soul power to monitor Huang He. Enruosu looked at Tang Ao in confusion. She did not know why Tang Ao had said that. However, Tang Ao did not explain this to Enruosu. If she knew about this, she would be worried. Furthermore, Tang Ao was not afraid of Huang He at all. If Huang He dared to play any tricks, Tang Ao was confident that he could take him down in the shortest time possible. As he thought about this, a pale blue light flickered in Tang Ao's eyes. Chapter 776. It wasn't that Tang Ao's soul power couldn't continue to explore, but because there was something special about the trench. Whether it was his soul power or his heavenly polar pupils, it was pitch black. Therefore, Tang Ao didn't know what was in the trench. Suddenly, Tang Ao saw a white light shoot out from the trench. This white light was astonishingly fast, and it disappeared in a flash at the mouth of the trench. Fortunately, Huang He's reaction wasn't slow at all. The moment he discovered this white light, his vast spiritual power swept towards it. Retracting his spiritual power, a fragment appeared in Huang He's hand. After seeing this fragment, Tang Ao and Huang He's expressions changed. Previously, Tang Ao saw Huang He throw a spiritual weapon into the trench, and the fragment in Huang He's hand was from that spiritual weapon not long ago. After getting this fragment, Huang He hesitated for a while, but he still quickly flew in the direction of the spirit boat. The reason why he didn't swim was because Huang He wasn't swimming in the water. Tang Ao saw the golden light flowing around Huang He, breaking all the water in the netherworld sea. Although Huang Hai was in the sea, it was like he was in the air, and he quickly came to the spirit boat. Huang He was a little depressed as he threw the spiritual weapon fragment on the spirit boat. I don't know what's in the trench, but this 6th grade spiritual weapon actually broke into pieces in less than 10 breaths. Huang He seemed to be talking to Tang Ao at the same time. This was because Huang He had felt a faintly discernible soul power following him as he approached the trench. In Huang He's opinion, Tang Ao's cultivation shouldn't have reached the life and death realm. As a life and death realm martial artist, his soul power couldn't even explore the area near the trench on the spirit boat. How did Tang Ao do it? Even if you can't go into the trench, why didn't Brother Huang collect some high-grade underworld stones? Although the value of high-grade underworld stones is far less than the supreme-grade underworld stones, it's still much better than the middle-grade and low-grade ones. Tang Ao talked to Huang He while refining a spiritual weapon. The grade of this spiritual artifact was not high, it was only a 3rd grade. Tang Ao was currently refining a fishing rod. Due to its low grade, it only took Tang Ao a few moments to finish refining the fishing rod. After refining the fishing rod, Tang Ao threw a piece of pitch-black iron into the crafting furnace in front of him and began to refine the fishing line and hook. Tang Ao had casually crafted the fishing rod, but the fishing line and hook had been carefully crafted. This pitch-black piece of iron was an extremely rare 6th-grade material known as ink iron. The ink iron's greatest characteristic was that it was very effective in transmitting soul power. Although Tang Ao couldn't directly investigate the situation in the trench, Tang Ao could use the fishing line and fishing hook made from the ink iron to indirectly observe the situation in the trench. After the ink iron was melted, Tang Ao threw a piece of profound iron into the crafting furnace. Ink iron conducts soul power very well, but its quality is a little weak, so it's very easy to break. That was why Tang Ao had added this piece of extremely tough dark steel. Tang Ao fused the two balls of liquid spiritual materials together. Then, he spread out his soul power and quickly pulled the liquid into a thin line. Huang He didn't know what Tang Ao was going to do, and he wasn't interested in knowing what Tang Ao was going to do. After resting on the spirit boat for a while, Huang He leaped into the Nethersea once again. After arriving at the Nethersea, Huang He still didn't give up and wanted to go down to the trench to take a look. However, after thinking about the spiritual artifact fragment, Huang He gave up on this idea. Chapter 777. Tang Ao held the newly refined hook in his hand and casually tossed it into the Nethersea. With a plop, the hook fell into the water. Under the control of Tang Ao's soul power, the hook continuously approached the trench in the deep sea. When Tang Ao's soul power directly explored the trench on the surface of the sea, it would be instantly dispersed by an invisible wave the moment it touched the entrance of the trench. This time, Tang Ao's soul power smoothly approached the entrance of the trench through the fishing line and hook. Huang He didn't know what Tang Ao was doing, but after resting for a while, Huang He dived into the water again. Tang Ao was right. This trench was continuously erupting low-grade, mid-grade, and high-grade underworld stones, which was very tempting to Huang He. However, because he couldn't enter the trench, Huang He wasn't sure if there were really top-grade underworld stones in the trench. Huang He had a broken piece of top-grade underworld stone. However, Huang He knew that this top-grade underworld stone could be considered a treasure among treasures. When Huang He first obtained the top-grade underworld stone, he was only at the first level of the life and death realm. After cultivating to the third level of the life and death realm with the help of the top-grade underworld stone, the stone in Huang He's hand actually didn't consume much. Therefore, Huang He's desire for the top-grade underworld stone exceeded Tang Ao's imagination. While Huang He dived into the sea to collect the underworld stones, he also noticed that the fishing hook that Tang Ao had thrown into the Nethersea was unexpectedly falling into the trench. Huang He's soul power immediately probed the fishing line. After sensing a faintly discernible soul power on the fishing line, Huang He's heart shook. "Good lad, it's actually ink iron," Huang He muttered to himself. When Tang Ao took out the ink iron, Huang He also saw it. However, Huang He didn't expect that the few pieces of black iron Tang Ao casually took out were actually the legendary ink iron that could transmit soul power. At this moment, Huang He was beside the trench. Compared to Tang Ao, Huang He was much more familiar with the situation around the trench. There was a turbulent flow of spiritual energy at the entrance of the trench. This turbulent flow of spiritual energy would scatter the soul force a martial artist sent into the trench. It was as if there was something in the trench that couldn't be peeked at. Although Huang He was shocked by Tang Ao's black iron fishing line, he didn't think that Tang Ao's method would succeed. Huang He raised his head and looked at Tang Ao. Although he was only a small dot on the surface of the sea, Huang He knew that Tang Ao must be aware of his every move. Thinking of this, Huang He left this place unintentionally and chased after the high-grade netherstone that was flying away. On the spirit boat, Tang Ao saw Huang He's abnormal behavior and felt slightly strange. In the direction that Huang He was chasing, there were indeed 5 underworld stones that had broken through Huang He's blockade and flown away. However, in Tang Ao's opinion, Huang He seemed to have done it on purpose. However, Tang Ao couldn't understand why Huang He would do this on purpose. Could it be that he was up to something behind his back? As the saying went, it was easy to dodge a spear in the open but hard to guard against a stab in the dark. If Huang He and Tang Ao fought head-on, Tang Ao wouldn't be afraid. However, if Huang He played any tricks, Tang Ao would be a little worried. It would be fine if he was alone. If he really couldn't do it, he could enter the chaotic hexagram mirror. However, he could enter the chaotic hexagram mirror, but Enruosu couldn't. Chapter 778. Tang Ao wanted to see what Huang He was up to, but his fishing hook had already reached the entrance of the trench. Due to the extreme suppression of soul power at the entrance of the trench, even with Tang Ao's powerful soul power, he had no time to care about anything else at the moment. He could only gather all his soul power in one place and forcibly break through the barrier at the entrance of the trench. Gotcha! Tang Ao seemed to have heard a crisp sound. It was as if something had broken at the entrance of the trench. This feeling was a little ridiculous, but Tang Ao knew that some kind of change had just occurred at the entrance of the trench. At this moment, Tang Ao's fishing hook had successfully entered the trench. After seeing the scene at the bottom of the trench, Tang Ao was stunned. There was a boundless whirlpool at the bottom of the trench. This whirlpool would sweep out pieces of underworld stones and throw them above the trench. This was the underworld stones that Tang Ao had seen spit out of the trench before. However, this whirlpool seemed to have a spiritual consciousness. Every time it swept out underworld stones, the supreme-grade underworld stones would be swept to a huge square at the side, while the other grades of underworld stones would be thrown out like garbage. Tang Ao looked at the square with his soul power, and then Tang Ao saw a mountain of underworld stones on the square. These underworld stones were not all supreme-grade. Most of them were high-grade underworld stones. These were the high-grade underworld stones that were piled up here, and they were the best among the high-grade underworld stones. In addition to the high-grade underworld stones, Tang Ao also saw more than 100 purple-black supreme-grade underworld stones. When Tang Ao looked at these supreme-grade underworld stones, Tang Ao frowned and then sighed. Tang Ao smiled at Enruosu. "Susu, I'm going down for a while. You control the spirit boat and head in the direction we came from. I'll catch up with you soon. If I'm not there by the time you return to the shore, find a place to hide. When I come back, I'll find you," Tang Ao said as he handed a ring full of cultivation resources to Enruosu. "Senior brother Tang Ao, what happened?" Although Tang Ao looked relaxed, Enruosu still felt that something had happened. "It's nothing. You must remember what I said. When you return to the shore, find a place to hide. The cultivation resources in the ring are enough for you to cultivate to the peak of the life and death realm." After to Tang Ao, he to a spiritual power palm suddenly blasted toward Huang He's restriction. Huang He's restrictions immediately shattered. Tang Ao also placed his life spirit treasure into the primal chaos hex-light mirror. Tang Ao didn't believe Huang He had the ability to detonate his life spirit treasure inside the hex-light mirror. After Tang Ao said that, he walked to Enruosu and gently hugged her. Then, Tang Ao jumped into the netherworld sea without hesitation. Tang Ao did not have Huang He's protective secret technique. As soon as Tang Ao fell into the netherworld sea, the bone-chilling seawater mercilessly crushed toward Tang Ao, as if it wanted to crush Tang Ao into powder. Although this crushing momentum was very strong, it did not pose much of a threat to Tang Ao. The real threat to Tang Ao was Huang He, who had called Tang Ao down. Just now, Huang He had sent a voice transmission to Tang Ao, saying that he had something to talk to him about. At the same time, Tang Ao also knew that when he discovered the underworld stones at the bottom of the trench, Huang He had used some unknown method to hide his soul power on the fishing hook and also discovered the underworld stones at the bottom of the trench. A golden light flashed on Tang Ao's body, and the battle sage bone life soul instantly attached to his body. Then, Tang Ao suddenly broke through the seawater and arrived in front of Huang He. Chapter 779. Brother Huang, since you've already seen it, why feign ignorance? Tang Ao looked at Huang He and said in a flat voice. At that moment, Tang Ao was secretly delighted. Previously, Tang Ao had been worried that he wouldn't be able to deal with the dark sea's seawater and that he would be at a disadvantage fighting in the seawater. But now, Tang Ao wasn't worried at all. This was because Tang Ao's battle sage bone life soul could perfectly resist the dark sea's seawater. After Tang Ao summoned the battle sage bone life soul, although Tang Ao was in the sea, it was as if he was fighting on land. You should know why I called you here, right? Huang He was ready to attack. Although he wasn't sure what kind of trump card Tang Ao had, 30 breaths of time had passed and Tang Ao hadn't been corroded by the Nethersea's seawater. This meant that Tang Ao had a method to deal with the Nethersea's seawater just like him. In addition, Huang He was surprised to discover that he couldn't sense the aura of the life soul artifact he had left on the spirit boat. Senior brother Huang He asked me to come down. Could it be that he wants to share half of the nether stones he obtained earlier with me? Although Tang Ao was not afraid of Huang He still wanted to buy some time for Enruosu. Huang He looked simple and was inferior to Murong Xiao, who was at the second stage life and death realm. However, Huang He gave Tang Ao a very dangerous feeling. Tang Ao couldn't explain this feeling, but Tang Ao believed in his intuition. You're trying to buy time for your junior sister, aren't you? Don't worry, as long as you tell me your secret, I won't do anything to her. In fact, I might even spare your life. As Huang He spoke, his aura abruptly burst out. Huang He's figure shot toward Tang Ao. At the same time, 2 crescent blades appeared in his hands. They were identical to the ones Tang Ao had received in the chaotic hexagram mirror. Tang Ao cursed under his breath. He immediately realized that the one he put into the chaotic hexagram mirror was fake. The real one was still with Huang He. Facing Huang He's attack, Tang Ao took out the primordial sacred sky bow without hesitation and slashed at Huang He. The 2 wings of the primordial sacred sky bow turned as sharp as a knife the moment Tang Ao slashed. Another stone flying by was smoothly cut into 2 pieces by the primordial sacred sky bow. Seeing this scene, Huang He's eyelids twitched. He had been dealing with the nether stone for half a year. He knew better than anyone how hard the nether stone was. However, the bow in Tang Ao's hand had cut the nether stone in half like tofu. This meant that the bow in Tang Ao's hand was an incredible treasure. Huang He knew that Tang Ao had secrets. However, he didn't expect that Tang Ao would give him such a big surprise before he could even kill Tang Ao. Previously, he had used a level 9 spiritual weapon to cut the nether stone. However, the nether stone had not been cut open even though his level 9 spiritual weapon was chipped. The broken piece of supreme-grade nether stone in his hand was cut open by a level 3 spiritual weapon. However, even though he had used a level 3 spiritual weapon, it still took him a lot of effort to cut open the supreme-grade nether stone. Just now, Tang Ao had indeed cut a top-grade nether stone in half like tofu. Therefore, Huang He guessed that the weapon in Tang Ao's hand must be a level 6 or above level 6 spiritual weapon. As he thought of this, an intense desire flashed in Huang He's eyes. How much help would a 6th-grade divine weapon or above be able to provide him? Such a divine weapon, Was it something that an ant like Tang Ao was qualified to possess? Ding! Chapter 780. This time was different from the last time. Tang Ao could clearly feel that Huang He's crescent moon twin blades were merely first-grade magic weapons. Compared to his primordial sacred heaven bow, his crescent moon twin blades were far inferior. Huang He looked at the primordial sacred sky bow in disbelief after the crescent moon blades were shattered. At the same time, a name appeared in Huang He's mind. However, this name was too shocking. Hence, when Huang He first saw the primordial sacred sky bow, he didn't dare to think in this direction. The sect that Huang He belonged to was second only to the 8 major sects of Xianhuang and the 6 great clans of the ancients. However, in terms of history, Huang He's sect had a longer history than all the other sections. Therefore, Huang He knew that there was a top-notch sect called the Divine Bao sect in the Black-Yellow continent 10,000 years ago. The Divine Bao sect had a treasure known as the Primordial Sacred Heavenly Bao. Huang He naturally associated it with the Primordial Sacred Heavenly Bao since it could shatter a first-grade divine weapon with one strike and was also a bao-shaped divine weapon at the same time. Ha ha, the heavens are really helping me. My harvest in the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm was mediocre, but now the heavens have sent the Primordial Sacred Heavenly Bao to me. After lamenting, Huang He looked at Tang Ao and said, Tang Ao, take your own life. I'll allow you to choose how you die. Otherwise, if I make a move later, I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to die even if you want to. While talking to Tang Ao, Huang He took out a blood-red talisman from his storage ring and slapped it on his body. Immediately after, Huang He's aura skyrocketed. Originally, Huang He was only at the 3rd level of the life and death realm. However, within a few moments, Huang He's cultivation base had skyrocketed to the peak of life and death realm 5th layer, and it was still rising. However, Huang He had underestimated Tang Ao and the primordial sacred heaven Bao. Just as Huang He's cultivation was about to rise, an incomparably sharp and violent mysterious sky arrow smashed the blood-red talisman into pieces. Huang He's cultivation, which had been rising rapidly, also stopped at this moment. Although Huang He's skyrocketing cultivation had stopped, Tang Ao's expression was still solemn. Right now, Tang Ao was a peak martial artist on the 9th floor of Linghai Jing. He was only one step away from the life and death realm. Although he was only one step away, Tang Ao still hadn't reached the life and realm. As for Huang He, who was facing Tang Ao, not only was he a life and death realm warrior, but his cultivation base had also skyrocketed to life and death realm 5th stage. Tang Ao had no chance of winning in battle, but now, Tang Ao Tang has said that Ao would be. If Tang Ao went all out and used all of his trump cards, he would be able to kill ordinary life and death realm 3rd stage experts. However, Huang He was obviously not an ordinary life and death realm warrior. Therefore, Tang Ao did not have the confidence to win against Huang He. Tang Ao could only say that he would try his best to retreat or kill Huang He by a fluke. Huang Realm 5th layer cultivation, Tang Ao had time. Tang Moon. King Huang. Emperor. Even trying to escape was not an easy task. Now, Tang Ao could only do 2 things. The first was to detonate the primordial sacred heaven Bao and perish together with Huang He. However, as Tang Ao understood the primordial sacred sky Bao, Tang Ao felt that he didn't have the ability to detonate the primordial sacred sky Bao. The second was to escape. As for the place to escape to, of course, there was only one, and that was under the trench. There was a terrifying space turbulence at the entrance of the trench. Tang Ao should be able to go down with the help of the Shunnong Cauldron. Furthermore, Tang Ao did not believe that Huang He had a defensive treasure on the same level as the Shunnong Cauldron that could allow him to enter the trench. Chapter 781. Pft. Tang Ao spat out a mouthful of blood, and felt a sharp pain in his chest. Tang Ao knew that his bones had been broken by Huang He's palm. Fortunately, he had already made a decision. When Huang He hit him, Tang Ao had already flown toward the entrance of the trench with the help of the recoil force. Seeing Tang Ao being blown away by his palm, Huang He was delighted at first, but then he was stunned. Originally, Huang He was worried that Tang Ao had some protective treasure with him. Since Tang Ao could easily take out the primordial sacred sky bow, he might have some powerful protective treasure with him. However, what Huang He didn't expect was that Tang Ao didn't even use any protective treasure and was sent flying by his palm strike. But when he saw the direction in which Tang Ao was flying, his face immediately became gloomy. At this moment, Tang Ao was flying toward the entrance of the trench. After Tang Ao was blown away by Huang He, Tang Ao did not forcibly stabilize his body. Instead, he flew toward the trench without hesitation. When Huang He realized Tang Ao's intention and wanted to stop him, it was too late. Huang He could only angrily blow out his palm and chase after him. However, Tang Ao had already reached the entrance of the trench. At the same time, a square cauldron of 30 feet high appeared in front of Tang Ao. The cauldron's light curtain fell vertically and quickly wrapped Tang Ao. Then, Tang Ao also rushed into the trench. Although Tang Ao had taken out the Shinong cauldron in time, Huang He's angry palm still hit it. After taking a hard hit from Huang He, the light curtain of the Shinong cauldron did not even have a ripple. Huang He's powerful palm was like blowing dust to the Shinong cauldron. The Shinong cauldron was very strong, so it was fine. However, Tang Ao was already seriously injured. After being shaken by the Shinong Emperor, many of Tang Ao's broken bones were shattered. Dang! After a heavy tremor, Tang Ao's feet landed on the ground and he arrived at the square below the trench. At that moment, Tang Ao did not look at his surroundings. Instead, he immediately grabbed a handful of pills and put them in his mouth. Following that, Tang Ao circulated the Jade Bone Life Soul. Wisps of the pill's medicinal essence and the Jade Bone Life Soul simultaneously repaired Tang Ao's injuries. Apart from Huang He's attack, of Tang Ao's injuries, half of them were caused by the Shinong cauldron of the Life Soul. Tang Ao's thoughts were not wrong. These powerful chaotic currents were even sharper than ordinary divine weapons. However, they were still unable to do anything to the farmer god cauldron. It was just that Tang Ao, who was under the protection of the farmer god cauldron, was suffering a little. At this moment, although Tang Ao had arrived at this special plaza, his blood was still boiling and his mind was in a mess. Although he had come to this special square, the blood in Tang Ao's body was boiling and his mind was confused. Tang Ao knew that at this time, any ordinary person who had not cultivated could kill him. In the past, Tang Ao's injuries were quickly healed by the 6th grade spirit pill and the Jade Bone Life Soul. In the past, Tang Ao's injuries were quickly healed by the 6th grade pills and the Jade Bone Life Soul. Even now, Tang Ao's body was still wreaking havoc with powerful spiritual energy. This uncontrollable spiritual power was naturally not Tang Ao's, but Huang He's palm that entered Tang Ao's body. This uncontrolled spiritual force was naturally not Tang Ao's. It was Huang He's palm that hit Tang Ao's body. After Tang Ao was struck by Huang He's palm, Tang Ao did not even notice it. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.